Good evening, everyone. Let's start off with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge, appreciate that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation, and we have occupied the territory since time immemorial. Call to order. I just want to take note that today is the first of 4 days of convocation exercises at UPEI. I was there this morning for the Bachelor of Nursing diplomas, degrees, and AVC, Atlantic Veterinary College recipients. Very humbling experience, a lot of happy students, happy parents, friends, and families. So we have another 3 days, and I know the deputy will be going tomorrow, next day, and that'll be the day after. So thanks to the university for such a great start to Convocation Week. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Councillor Duran, for the record, can you tell us what your conflict is?
I have a planning issue on page 276, tender issue on page 415, another tender issue on 546, and the closed session item.
Okay, duly noted. Any others? Okay, approval of agenda. You'll see that we have 25 resolutions, 9 bylaw readings. I know the heavy haul will be in planning with 14 resolutions. So moved by Councillor Bernard, second by Councillor McKinnon. All in favor? Okay. So on your adoption of previous draft minutes of council, there is the regular meeting of last month, April 8th, 2025. 2 special meetings, April 22nd and 29th, and then we had a public planning meeting on the same night, the 29th of April. Moved by Councillor Bernard. Second by Councillor Ramsey. All in favor? Any business arising from the minutes? Okay, seeing none. I'll go to the first report, and I will ask our esteemed Deputy Mayor, Alana Yankov, to give her report and then follow with resolutions. Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, folks. So the Heritage Board Design Review and Planning and Heritage Committee did not meet since our last meeting, but the Affordable Housing Committee met on April 15th. Planning Board met on May the 6th. The permit applications up to March 31st are at the back of your package. Tonight, for your consideration, we have 14 resolutions, 8 first readings, and 1 second reading. I also just wanted to provide a few highlights, and they mainly just focus on the items that are elements of the city's Housing Accelerator Fund agreement. So just an update on our draft official plan. So following our public meeting, some final updates are underway, and this will reflect feedback, and we'll bring this to a meeting of council hopefully within the next month. Our zoning and development bylaw review update work is ongoing with the planning staff. There's a survey currently available on the charlottetown.ca website. Also, we have 2 public engagement sessions this week, the 14th and the 15th, one at Simmons Sports Centre from 5 to 8, and one at West Royalty Community Centre from 6 till 9. So the consultant will be conducting a comprehensive review of the current zoning and development regulations, and this process will identify opportunities for improvement, modernization, and the alignment with our new official plan, should that be adopted. The plan is for the zoning and development bylaw to be completed by fall of 2025. Just an update on our e-permitting. Work is ongoing with the city staff in the development of the city's future e-permitting system. This work will provide seamless data entry and interdepartmental review and approval to streamline and expedite future development review. Again, this project is scheduled for completion by the end of 2025. And other than that, if you have any questions, I should also mention that the project that supports those small ADUs that they're working on in duplexes, this work will also create design guidelines to ensure the architectural compatibility. So if you remember, we talked about these ADUs. Again, this project is scheduled for completion again in fall 2025. And before that, you'll probably hear lots more from me about that. If anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to bring to your attention, I received some phone calls regarding the advertisements in the newspaper on Saturday with respect to the review of the zoning and development bylaw. I don't know if you've heard, but it wasn't clear. In fact, it was actually fudged, the advertisements that were in the Guardian, and people couldn't make hide nor hair of them. So there was some frustration because they didn't know exactly what the ad meant. And the other thing, I think the ad's too small. It's small print. So you might want to look at what was in the Guardian and maybe do a reprint and maybe double the size. But because it wasn't clear to our residents, and I did receive some feedback, both by phone and just running into people in the community that are extremely concerned. Thank you.
Deputy?
Thank you for that, Councillor Twill. I know there was a hiccup on the social media as they had a couple of dates that were incorrect, but I believe that has been sorted out. To be perfectly honest, I haven't seen the ads in the newspaper, so without putting Director Mike on the spot, if he could speak to those ads and let me know if there's been a solution around that. Thank you.
Through your worship to the deputy, that's certainly something that the team has been looking into. We did receive that feedback. So the team has been working with our communications group as well to try and get the message out there through all of our various media channels.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. Just want to bring to your attention that not everyone is on social media. They rely on the traditional way of getting information, whether it be through the broadcast media or print media. So that discrepancy and that deficiency needs to be addressed because, again, not everyone is on social media. A lot of our senior citizens are not. And anyway, somewhere along the line, that has to be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner first? Okay, go ahead.
So with tomorrow being the first of these meetings, hopefully folks will get out, and I guess we'll gauge if the numbers are really poor, then we'll see that we may just have to have another meeting. Because tomorrow we have one at Simmons from 5 until 8, and then we have one on the 15th at the West Royalty Community Center from 6 till 9. So hopefully all you councillors pop in and we'll gauge the numbers, and if the numbers are poor, then we'll just do it again. How's that work, Councillor Twill?
That's fair.
Okay.
Okay. First resolution.
Your Worship, Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 1, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the suggested housekeeping amendments pertaining to the following sections of the Zoning and Development Bylaw PHZD 2 be approved. Section 3.8.3B, minor variances. Section 3.9.3B, major variances. Section 3.10.4A, rezonings. Section 3.15.4, reconsiderations. And Appendix A, which is the definition of terms.
Question? Questions called. All those in favor? Okay. Next one, please.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 2, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following major variances for the traffic control cabinet located within the public right-of-way and adjacent to the subject property addressed as 154 Great George Street, PID number 342717 be approved. To allow for the establishment of a vinyl wrap mural on the exterior of an existing traffic control cabinet within the public right-of-way adjacent to the subject property, whereas murals or any sign painted upon a building or structure within the 500 lot area are otherwise prohibited.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. I just want to ask a question, get a clarification. Can a mural sometimes be considered as signage to promote a certain business, or it's more than just promoting an event, or is it just strictly a mural where there's, the artistic endeavor comes out? Just wanted to ask that if there's a clarification or if there's any similarities.
Deputy.
Sure. So a mural would not be any advertising at all. It wouldn't have a business name on it. It wouldn't have an event on it. It's just a mural. And if you see in the package, you'll see what these murals are, and they're completely just pieces of artwork that reflect the city of Charlottetown. They're actually quite beautiful. But no, there's no advertising on a mural. It is very different. And these murals they're up for at least 5 years. They're done with really heavy-duty material so that they'll last through the test of time. If you wanted to add anything to that, David, you can, but these are not advertisements. And if you wanted to wrap something in an advertisement, you would have to apply on an individual basis to see whether or not that could even, because you'd be going against the existing bylaw.
Councillor Bernard.
I was just going to say, there's one I noticed outside the roundabout at Vogue Optical, the electrical box. It must have been just wrapped in the last couple of weeks. Looks beautiful. It really sets it off as opposed to an ugly old electrical box. So not sure when it was done. I only noticed it last week, but it certainly adds to the ambience of the area for sure.
And just to note that because that wasn't in the 500 lot area, that didn't have to come to council for approval.
Question? Question's called. All those in favor? 10-0.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 3, moved by Deputy Mayor Lana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following major variants for the traffic control cabinet located within the public right-of-way and adjacent to the subject property addressed as 230 Euston Street, PID number 346536, be approved. To allow for the establishment of a vinyl wrap mural on the exterior of an existing traffic control cabinet within the public right-of-way adjacent to the subject property, whereas murals or any sign painted upon a building or structure within the 500 lot area are otherwise prohibited.
Question's called. Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Next one.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Lana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following major variants for the subject property addressed as 250 Queen Street, PID number 346155, be approved. To allow for printed artwork to be installed and affixed to the exterior facade of an existing commercial building within the 500 lot area, whereas murals or any sign painted upon a building or structure within the 500 lot area are otherwise prohibited. Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 5, moved by Deputy Mayor Lana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following major variants for the subject property addressed as 96 Kensington Road, PID number 1009471, be approved. To allow for 2 electronic signs to be installed on an existing freestanding sign within the required 30.5 meter, 100-foot buffer of a residential zone.
Question? Question's called. All those in favor? Okay.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 6, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following major variance for the subject property addressed as 10 Orchard Court, PID number 366260, be approved to allow for an addition attached garage to the existing dwelling to project into the following setbacks. 1 west side yard setback by 0.11 meters, which is 0.36 feet, and secondly, rear yard setback by 6.29 meters, which is 20.6 feet.
Questions called? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, Sue?
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 7, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following major variance for the subject property addressed as 101 Longworth Avenue, PID number 363671, be approved to allow for an outdoor patio to occupy 1 required parking space and 1 required loading space at 101 Longworth Avenue, PID number 363671, on a temporary basis until the end of October 2025, subject to the applicant receiving an associated development permit from the Planning and Heritage Department.
Question? Okay. Oh, okay, Councilor Bernard?
Is this another brand-new request, or is this one that's been there before?
It's one that's there until the end of the year.
It's been granted? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I think it's the Cedar Bar or something like that, yeah. It's in behind Old Jenkins Transfer.
Yeah, so I assume we're waiting for the parking study to be completed before we start looking at these and the amount we allow in the next upcoming year? Is it 25 they expire or 26?
So the ones that are in the city right-of-way, they all expire. The encroachment order goes until the season ends in 2026. These ones that are what we call the COVID patios are all need to be approved each year, so they expire at the end of each year. So we are working on amalgamating that entire patio bylaw into one. So that's one of our priority bylaws that we're working on. Okay. Yep.
Councilor Twill?
I think the interesting thing to note here, this is on private property. This is not on the city's right-of-way. So, you talk about amalgamating, there are two different perspectives, two different dynamics. It's on their property. So I don't think you can treat it the same way as approving, an outdoor deck on the city's right-of-way. It's two different phenomenons.
Deputy?
We won't be treating them the same. It's just going to be one bylaw, similar to a zoning and development bylaw. There's many aspects to one bylaw. So it's just going to be, right now, currently, we have patio bylaws on private property come through Planning and Heritage. The ones on city property go through Public Works and then through police. So it's just a real siloed problem that we're having. So we're just trying to bring them all into one department. So they're still not going to be treated the same because obviously if you have a patio on private property, the only reason they weren't permitted prior to COVID was because each of these areas were expected to have a certain amount of parking places. So they're taking away the parking that they're already they've been pre-approved to have to provide to their clientele. So they're taking that away, which is why it has to be addressed. Anywho, that's what I got.
Okay, Councilor Bernard?
Well, no, I
you
mean,
just
for us,
raise there?
for our concerns, it's parking. And that would be on city property. It's all the parking spots I'm talking about. Private property doesn't really matter on the parking issue. So this, what our concern, the downtown business concern is, how many patios are we allowing parking spots to take up? And that would be our property. So that's where my concern is, not so much private property. And I assume the study is going to give us some recommendations on that.
Just to kind of dovetail a little bit on that, you're totally right, Councillor Bernard. But if you recall, during COVID, we allowed for folks that had restaurants and businesses that when they opened, they had a certain amount of parking that were required for their businesses. And if they had, a lot of them had to take away some of the parking that they're expected to provide for their patios. So they've been doing this for many years, so we just need to write this into a bylaw that works for everybody. Yeah.
Question, Councillor Ron? No question? You want to call the question? Question's called. Question's called. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 8, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the unaddressed properties identified as PID numbers 1100528 and 193284 be approved. Number 1, amend Appendix A, the future land use map of the City of Charlottetown from medium-density residential to institutional, from low-density residential to institutional, and from low-density residential to medium-density residential. And 2, to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw from medium-density mixed-use residential, MUR, to institutional, from low-density residential, R2, to institutional, and from low-density residential single, R2S, to medium-density mixed-use residential, MUR.
Question called? Okay. All those in favor? Oh, did you have a question?
Just confirmation.
Just stand up there.
This is the school property. So did they ever come back, do we ever get clarification on moving from the R2 to the MUR? Why? Because I think during the meeting we were told it's just because there was a street going through.
We
Deputy-
did, and I believe it was addressed somewhere in the hundreds of pages of that package. So instead of us trying to find it right now, I'm going to ask David to just to speak to that. Yeah, it's easier. I can't even tell you where it is in there.
Mr. Gundrum.
Thank you. Through the chair, to clarify Councillor's question, the intention is still to migrate some of the lands that are involved into the MUR, and that's to allow for increased flexibility in future development options. This is what the province has applied for, so this is what we're carrying forward for council to consider and vote on.
I would maybe just also add that in response to some of the feedback during that meeting, the applicant did amend their application so that they are leaving some of those properties that back on to existing single detached homes, they would leave as R2S.
Yeah. And it's an expansion to the school. Huge expansion. Question? Oh, okay. All in favor? Okay.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 9, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the properties identified as 171-181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, 555177 be approved. Number 1, amend Appendix A, the future land use map of the City of Charlottetown official plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential to facilitate the development of the combined site with a new townhouse development, 9 units proposed, that would have a common outdoor amenity space to the rear of the property for use by residents. And number 2, to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw from single detached residential R1L zone to the medium-density residential townhouse R3T zone for the subject properties located at 171-181 Kensington Road, PIDs number 385930, 385948, and 555177.
Councilor Matard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you. So as you recall, this application came before council, I think it was back in late 2024. And at the time of that application, a recommendation came forward with the concept of 12 units on this particular property. And it was determined and recommended by the planning staff and ultimately council to deny that application. So I attended the last meeting here of planning, and the applicant has now come back with 9 units. But I think it's important to point out a few pieces of information that might help in deciding whether or not this is the appropriate build for this area. So one of the main reasons, with the 12 units, one of the main reasons for denial of that application was the density in over 30 units per hectare. And then most of the resident feedback that came in and the concerns was around the issues around density, around traffic, residential fit, and obviously small things like snow removal, et cetera, noise. But so since the new proposal has come in, it's reduced down to 9 townhouses, which is approximately now 22 units per hectare. And that typical range of density for a single detached neighborhood is usually between 10 and 20 units per hectare. So this is forming at the very upper high limit of what would be considered a typical range. So the overall current density of that particular block in question actually comes out to be about 7.6 units per hectare. So adding the 9 on there and the 20, you're actually increasing it still by 3 times factor of what would normally be in there. So taking that into consideration, looking at the scale of the proposed duplexes, I still don't think we've addressed the issue of density. We certainly, it doesn't really address the issue of increased traffic and activity in that area, and certainly with my communications with the residents, they also don't feel that has been addressed adequately by reducing down to 3 units. Also, taking into consideration, there is a number of low-cost housing that's already in that particular area, so we'd be taking that out of the equation. And I think at a time right now when we're looking for low-cost housing, that seems to be a bit counterproductive, is to take out units to put in higher-end units. Just another fact I want to point out is that in section 3.2 of the official plan, it states that our goal is to maintain the distinct character of our neighborhoods. And the objective is to preserve the built form and density of existing neighborhoods. I don't feel by increasing the density by 3 times factor is actually aligning with that statement. So for those reasons, I'm not going to be able to support the application before us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Tartt. Question? Question, Scott? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those in favor of the resolution, raise your hand. I have 3. I have Councilor Ramsey, Councilor Bernard, and Councilor McCabe. Those against? Okay, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, Councilor Tartt, Councilor Beck, Councilor McKinnon, Councilor McAleer, Councilor Durant? Yea or nay?
I wasn't clear of what Councilor Tartt was talking about. Can I just get a clarification?
Sure, do you want him to repeat it?
Well, yeah,
Yep.
or ask a question on it.
Go ahead.
Like we were talking here, it went from 12 townhouses down to 9, but you say the density, there's still only 9, right? And the ambiance of the neighborhood, well, just across the street around by the golf course, there's townhouses down there. Am I not mistaken? There's not?
No, off the golf course. Off the golf course.
Off
It's
the
called
golf course.
Dowlands Lane. Yeah, but.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's down further.
yeah, but it's,
Yeah, it's not too far down, but it is.
But it's down
It is in
lane.
that area. So that's what I was, the numbers that you put out and the density, I couldn't really understand. But it is, the parcel of land is only going for 9 townhouses, right? Like, I thought the way you were talking, there's another parcel that'd be more townhouses, so. Sorry for not following, I was just trying
can
to
you
figure out
clarify
what
that,
you were
Councilor
saying.
Tartt?
Thank you, Councillor Dunn, and I can appreciate your questions and understanding. So it took me a bit to kind of sort through that, but I wanted to take the opportunity to do that. So you're correct in the fact that they're trying to consolidate 3 pieces of land that would house 9 townhouses in total. But when I look at the totality of the general area, it's now putting in effectively 20 more units per hectare, like if you average out. And then right now, if you were to drive by that particular block area, Hemlock and Kensington Road and around like that, there's an average about 7 units per hectare on there. So it's increasing that by 3. So although, yes, it's on that particular property only, by scale, it's increasing that threefold. So, from those in very close proximity. I agree there are other areas within that, within that area that have townhouses that are built down by, like you say, by Foodland, on the backside of Foodland, which seems to be proper and fit for that area versus in this particular area we're talking about. And I did have the opportunity to speak to our planning staff on this to ensure that I had my understanding of this information correctly before I presented it here. So I would welcome any further clarification if I misrepresented what the hectares per unit mean when it comes to planning. So,
No?
thank you.
Can I get the deputy to speak first there, Mr. Gundrum? Deputy?
That's okay. Yeah, I had a bit of a brain freeze. I'm glad that we're going to take this vote again. So, and with respect to what the councillor in the areas had to say, I hear it and I hear what he's saying. But I would note that staff have recommended this project, as has planning board. So I know we're redoing this vote. I'm going to be supporting the project. Usually, if we're going against a project, the idea is you get up and speak to why you're opposing it, which is what Councillor Matart did. I don't have a rationale to not support it, so I will be supporting staff's and planning board's recommendation this evening on this project.
Mr. Gundrum, do you want to add anything to what Mr. Matart said, Councillor Matart said, or is that clear with you?
Through the chair, no, I just want to state that Councillor Matart was quoting figures that were in our planning report that are correct. So just to reemphasize that what he was saying is indeed correct. Yeah.
And that's clear to you, Councillor Duran? Good? Okay, Councillor Matart.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just need clarity, so we took a vote?
No, the vote was stopped.
Okay.
The councillor did ask, and you
Okay.
give him fairness.
Sure. No, that's
You
fine.
didn't, you didn't understand, Councillor Duran, you didn't understand where you were going with it because of the information that was given? I just trying to be fair,
I'm all right
right?
with, if we're to revote, we're revote. I'm clarifying, that's all I'm doing. I'm not putting it out on Councillor Duran as
No, nor am
calling
I.
a revote. I'm just
I'm just
asking,
asking
are we
clarification
revoting?
from him.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Councillor Twill?
Question I have is there a compromise? Is there something that the residents would accept, that they would, embrace in the community? You were out, to your credit, you're out talking with the residents. Is, what can we do to accommodate them? If it's not this development, what would the ideal development actually be?
Okay, Councillor Matart.
Thank you, Councillor Tweel. In my conversations, we never really sat and negotiated back and forth, what would work, what wouldn't work. In that perspective of what I could come back with, there was some discussion in some of the public meetings was brought up about the way in which this particular property is being designed is the townhouses are going to be pushed up as closely as possible to Kensington Road, and all of the parking and stuff is going to be in the backside of the actual parking lot, which is then infringing upon backyards of those neighbors who were all there because they're coming in with a driveway that's going to come in off Kensington Road and in off Templar. The only thing that I heard was if those were moved back, that might be something that, and I asked that question in the planning meeting, and that's not a desire by the developer that, they're trying to move things in the back. They think that's actually a better approach to move things, kind of put it in the backside versus the front side, take some of the strain off Kensington Road. I think, aside from that, it's fit. I mean, there's certainly a lot of bungalows in that area, in that block area, and houses that are, fitting with each other, and this landscape will change as a result of that. So to answer your question, no, there isn't anything I think that, one particular thing that might satisfy them or help them, support it one way or another. So I'm just going to take the feedback that I received and bring that forward here to you tonight, and some of the facts that were presented during the planning board thing, and you'll make your decision based on that. So I appreciate everybody's decision. Thank you.
Councillor Beck.
Yeah, thank you for that, Your Worship. I just want to tag on to something that the deputy said, that this was supported by staff and the planning board. The conversation of planning board was not unanimous. It was not 100% supportive of it. I think there was an acknowledgement that the developer had come back based on the 12 units that were originally there, listened to the concerns that were expressed by the residents of the area at the time. In fairness to the planning department, they came back with a different proposal, which allowed them to reapply within the 1 year, whereas normally you would have to wait a year before planning. So I think there was an acknowledgement that there were some, the developer listened to what was said earlier, went back, revised some plans, come back with a different plan, but there was not a common sense amongst the board that this is a fully supported project. And I think there was an acknowledgement that there was some advancements made, but the decision was to leave it in the hands of council to ultimately decide as to whether it was a project that should go ahead or not. So I just want to provide that context. That's what I understood from the meeting, and I think that was what the nature of the discussion was at the planning board level.
But the recommendation from planning board was to approve it, correct? Yeah, and the ultimate decision rests with the council. Question? Question's called. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Deputy Mayor Yankoff, Councillor Ramsey, Councillor McAleer, Councillor McCabe, Councillor Bernard, Councillor Duran. Those against? Councillor Matert, Beck, McKinnon, I'm missing, and Councillor Twill? Yeah, okay. Motion carries. Do we have another resolution? 6-4. 6-4. Yeah.
Planning and Heritage Resolution number,
Yeah. Yeah, so it's Councillors Beck. Yeah, Councillors Beck and Twill and McKinnon and Matard. That's 6-4. Okay? Do you want to read the? Yeah. Next resolution?
Planning and Heritage Resolution number 10, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment for the property identified as 10 Frida Lane, PID number 1179670, be approved. Amend Appendix G zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw from Comprehensive Development Area CDA zone to the medium density residential R3 zone for the subject property located at 10 Frida Lane, PID number 1179670.
Okay. Question? Question's called. All those in favor? 10-0.
Planning and Heritage Resolution number 11, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment for the properties identified as PID number 278226, 278234 be approved. Amend Appendix G zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw to rezone the subject properties from the single detached residential R1S zone and placing them in the medium density residential R3 zone to facilitate future development of the combined properties with a proposed 5-story, 41-unit apartment building that would have both surface level and underground parking.
Councillor Matard.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on this particular build, this apartment on Kensington Road, corner of Kensington Falconwood. During the public meeting, I did request that I requested from the developer and/or the Public Works was to have a traffic study completed for that particular area. So I just want to put on record here tonight. I'm not sure if it can still be something. This is to the chair, that can be considered during the application process and the building process to have that built into that particular project. So if I'll just put it out there on record that that's what I'm requesting for that particular area. I don't know if it can be done through the next phases of the proposal if this happens to pass this evening. Thank you.
I don't think an issue of getting this into the development agreement. Do you, David? No, no problem at all. We'll make sure that's noted in the minutes.
Okay, question? No, I have Councillor Duran and Councillor Bernard.
Just clarification, we're going to vote here. So if we vote on it and it's approved, it would be, a traffic study would be part of that. Is that correct? That's what you're asking for?
Deputy,
So
can you just
to
stand up and just give
clarify,
us-
as long as we vote
Please.
for it, that'd be great?
We'll see that, we will see this project again, because right now, all it is for the zoning aspect of it. So they still have to come in to get their permit and look for, so you're probably going to see this again. And as it's been noted, that when they do apply for their permit, part of their development agreement will be contingent on getting that traffic study done first. Yep.
Councillor Bernard?
Yeah, and she may have just answered it. I thought there were some criteria that had to be followed in order to push on to a traffic study. I thought there was some criteria per property. Am I wrong on that? I think there wasn't
Deputy?
going to be a traffic study done on every property. I thought there was some criteria that had to be followed before you can.
There is, and you know what? I'm going to defer to David because I don't really know what the criteria is, but there is criteria, but this does meet the criteria. But you're right, not every project, we can't just, loosey-goosey go out there and get traffic studies done. Yeah, because we have an overarching problem in the city of Charlottetown and, and across the province and in an increase in population. I mean, that's all has to be addressed holistically at some point. Yeah. But David, over to you.
Thank you. Through the chair, just to clarify that council tonight is only voting on the proposed zoning change, and I just want to clarify for council that we can't condition a zoning change ever. However, as the deputy alluded to, there'd be requirement for development agreement, requirement for future permit, and those are two elements that can be conditioned, could include a traffic impact study. We, on the planning side, we would defer to the expertise of our Public Works Department to help inform and support the need for a traffic impact study. Those thresholds would be based on local traffic counts in the area that they measure every year, and that would be matched up against what the estimated impact would be of this development. So to your point, Councillor Bernard, it's possible that a TIS may be a requirement, but we would defer to Public Works to make the call on that. So, yep.
Councillor McCabe?
I think it's just important, in the report, it actually talks that Public Works didn't have any concern regarding the traffic impact due to the fact it's a corner lot, it's local and collector roads. Public Works offered no concern with respect to traffic impacts and proposed access given available data. So it might be something that they don't feel is important, but I guess we just heard him say that they'll have that evaluated.
Is that good, Deputy? Okay. Question? Questions called. All those in favor? 10-0. Okay.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 12, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the properties identified as PID numbers 117-8193, 117-8201, and 117-8219 be approved. Number 1, amend Appendix A of the future land use map of the City of Charlottetown official plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential to facilitate the development of each of the 3 lots identified as lots 24, 25, and 26 on Evelyn Street, PID numbers 117-8193, 117-8201, 117-8219, with a 4-unit building stacked townhouse dwellings, and number 2, to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from the low-density residential single R2S zone to the medium-density residential R3 zone for the subject properties identified as lots 24, 25, and 26 on Evelyn Street, PID numbers 117-8193, 117-8201, and 117-8219.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 10-0.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 13, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the properties identified as 161, 167 Mount Edward Road, PID numbers 390260, 390237, 566976 be approved. Number 1, amend Appendix A, the future land use map of the City of Charlottetown from low-density residential to comprehensive planning area to facilitate the development of up to 150 apartment dwelling units on a combined site across 2 phases of development, with Phase 1 constituting a 4-story apartment building having 47 dwelling units, and to number 2, amend the Appendix G zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw to rezone the subject properties identified as 161, 167 Mount Edward Road, PID numbers 390260, 390237, 566976 from the current low-density residential single R2S zone and placing them in the Comprehensive Development Area CDA zone.
You're doing a great job there, reading aloud there, CAO. You should be a school teacher. Questions called? All those in favor? 10-0, 10-0, 10-0, 10-0. Thank you. Go ahead.
Planning and Heritage Resolution Number 14, moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Be it resolved that the following zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment for the unaddressed properties identified as PID numbers 134975 and 1180348 be approved. Number 1, amend Appendix A of the future land use map of the City of Charlottetown from low-density residential to comprehensive planning area to facilitate the future development of the subject properties with a new plan of subdivision proposed across 3 phases of development, having approximately 800 dwelling units, commercial development, and public green space. 2 new road connections along the east side of Malpeque Road are proposed in order to facilitate the future development. And A, number 2, amend Appendix G zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw to rezone the unaddressed subject properties identified as PID numbers 134957 and 1180348 from the current low-density residential single R2S zone and placing them in the Comprehensive Development Area CDA zone.
And just for the record, Councillor Duran did leave the chamber. He's in conflict of interest. Questions called? Oh, Councillor Beck.
Yeah, I support of the supportive of this. Just kind of tagging on from the last one at the Planning Board Committee, there was a lot of discussion about ensuring that the parkland was fully developed and that there was sufficient acreage there to meet the recreational needs as well. And there was also a discussion about incorporating transit in there as well too. So in keeping with the next phase, I know this is a zoning request right now, but I would like to make sure that we address the parking, the parkland issue, the Parks and Rec concern, and also that we look at how can we incorporate transit, because we're going to get Hidden Valley over on the west side. Now we've got this new massive development. It's a really good opportunity to do some good work right off the ground to make sure that we enhance our traffic, it's on a transit corridor, major transit corridor. We got that rapid housing initiative, which is going up just at the end of Malpeque Road as well too. So it's a real opportunity to make sure that we do a little forward thinking and ensure that we get some good infrastructure put in place to help facilitate the growth that's going to come with that area.
Thank you, Councillor Beck. Councillor McAleer.
No, thank you, Mayor Brown, and just want to support what Councillor Beck is saying there. I'm full support of that. I did view that committee meeting, and I thought it was a very good discussion and a very good point that the parkland and the
and the transit piece be part of the first moving forward on it, and it not be something that's maybe left to negotiate out that next level down. So thank you.
Okay. Questions called. All those in favor? 9-0. Councillor Duran, you can come from behind the door there and come on in. Can someone just go get him? Just 1 sec, Sue. Okay.
We have 8 readings of, related to bylaws.
Busy department there, Deputy. Oh, jeez. Keep bringing them in.
City of Charlottetown Amendment, Zoning and Development Bylaw, PHZD.2, to adopt bylaw PHZD.2091, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw, to amend sections of the Zoning and Development Bylaw pertaining to Section 3.8.3B, Section 3.9.3B, Section 3.10.4A, Section 3.154, and Appendix A. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, PHZD.2091, as it pertains to zoning and development bylaw amendments as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council. And that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
Any discussion? Okay. Shall I carry? Contrary? Okay. 10-0.
City of Charlottetown Amendment to adopt the official plan amendment PHOPA 1048, that the land use for the properties identified as 171181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, 555177, as shown on Appendix A, future land use map of the City of Charlottetown official plan, is designated as medium-density residential, hereby excluding it from its former designations of low-density residential. Be it resolved that the official plan amendment PHOPA 1048, as it pertains to properties identified as 171181 Kensington Road, PIDs number 385930, 385948, 555177, as attached, be adopted, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. And so we have the Zoning and Development Bylaw PHZD2 to adopt bylaw PHZD2093, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw to amend Appendix G zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw from single detached residential R1L zone to medium density residential townhouse R3T zone for the subject properties located at 171181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, and 555177. Be it resolved. Is there supposed to be discussion at this point, Tracy?
We will have discussion, the first
Yes,
reading.
okay.
Yeah. The second reading doesn't come until the next meeting.
No, I have 2 readings here as for May 13th.
So that came up the last time. So this is the second reading.
Yes. This is the first reading.
You have the official plan reading and then the first zoning and development bylaw.
Yeah, so that's what
Right.
she's reading now.
Yeah.
You continue to read that. That's what she's reading now.
Yes, that's the one I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
I'm okay, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Can you put it up on the screen?
That's what I just said, she's reading the Kensington Road one.
It is the second,
171181 Kensington Road is the one that I'm on now.
Booklet, it's the second one.
yeah. It's not, and it's, I also got some of the resolutions mixed up too. No fault of you, Tracy. No fault. It's, can you bring it up?
It's going in the same succession
Yeah.
of resolutions.
Can you bring it up there? Thank you. Can you do the other ones like that too, please? Oh, great.
So am I reading the right one,
She's
Your
so
Worship?
accommodating.
I have I have that I'm on number 3.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It's supposed to be number 2.
I don't see a number 2 in here.
They're mixed up.
Where did it go?
That's how much of work we've got going on here, Councillor
Oh,
McAleer.
that's the one you're reading there, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to make it. Yeah,
I read that
Read
already,
that
yeah.
and that there.
okay,
That's the first reading.
but I don't read that. Just here.
Wherever they're signed.
Yep. All
That's what's
right,
up on the screen.
we're all together
Yes.
on this.
You see, Yael?
Zoning Development Bylaw PHZD.2 to adopt a bylaw PHZD.2 -093, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to amend Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from single detached residential R1L zone to medium density residential townhouse R3T zone for the subject properties located at 171, 181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, and 555177. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PHZD 2093, as it pertains to properties identified as 171, 181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, 555177, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Lana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
So it's first reading.
Yes.
Any discussion? Shall it carry? Pass. Contrary? Okay, I get it. Who is contrary?
Okay, the next one I have, your worship, is for Frida Lane. Oh,
Councillors Matard, Councillors Beck. Good. All those in favor? Okay, 8-2. Are you against it? No, I'm asking Councillor Twill. It's 171, 181. Okay, 7-3. Okay, 6-4. Okay. I should go to the Racine and get a job out there. 6-4. Okay, Councillors Matard, Beck, Twill, and McKinnon against, correct? Okay. Do you want to read the next one?
okay, the next one, your worship, is for Frida Lane. Are we all on the same page on that one?
Hold on.
Under the official plan, zoning and development bylaw, PHZD.2, to adopt bylaw PHZD.2094, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to amend Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from the comprehensive development area CDA zone to the medium density residential R3 zone for the subject property located at 10 Frida Lane, PID number 1179670. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PHZD 2094, as it pertains to the subject property located at 10 Frida Lane, PID number 1179670, as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Lana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
Shall it carry? Good.
The next one I have, your worship, is for 139 Kensington Road.
Just once. You got that? It's coming up there on your screen. Thank you very much, Tracy. You're doing a great job. Okay.
Zoning and Development Bylaw, PHZD.2, to adopt bylaw PHZD 2095, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw to amend Appendix G zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from the single detached residential R1S zone to the medium density residential R3 zone for the subject property located at 139 Kensington Road, PID numbers 278226, 278234. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw, PHZD 2095, as it pertains to the subject property located at 139 Kensington Road, PIDs number 27226, 278 278226, 278234 as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. First reading.
Any discussion? Okay, shall I carry? Okay. Go ahead.
The amendment official plan to adopt the official plan amendment PHOPA 1049, that the land use for the 3 lots identified as lots 24, 25, and 26 on Evelyn Street, PID number 1178193, 1178201, and 1178219, as shown on Appendix A, Future Land Use Map of the City of Charlottetown Official Plan, is designated as medium-density residential, hereby excluding it from its former designation of low-density residential. Be it resolved that the official plan amendment PHOPA 1049, as it pertains to properties identified as 171-181 Kensington Road, PIDs number 385930, 385948, 555177 as attached be adopted. And that's moved by Deputy Mayor Lana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. Zoning and Development Bylaw PHZD.2, to adopt a bylaw PHZD 2096, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the Zoning Development Bylaw from low-density residential R2S zone to the medium-density residential R3 zone for the 3 lots identified as lots 24, 25, and 26 on Evelyn Street, PIDs number 1178193, 1178201, and 1178219. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw PHCD 2096 as it pertains to the 3 lots identified as lots 24, 25, and 26 on Evelyn Street, PID numbers 1178193, 1178201, 1178219 as attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
Okay, is this something we're going to streamline in the new zone and development bylaw? No? Shall I carry? Okay. Contra?
Okay, we have to adopt the official plan amendment PHOPA 1050, that the land use for the properties identified as 161, 167 Mount Edward Road, PID numbers 390260, 390237, 566976, as shown in Appendix A. Future land use map of the City of Charlottetown official plan is designated as a comprehensive planning area, hereby excluding it from its former designation, low-density residential. Be it resolved that the official plan amendment PHOPA 1050, as it pertains to the properties identified as 161, 167 Mount Edward Road, PID numbers 390260, 390237, and 566976 as attached be adopted. That's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. To adopt bylaw PHZD 2097, a bylaw to amend the Zoning and Development Bylaw, to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the Zoning and Development Bylaw from low-density residential single R2S zone to the Comprehensive Development Area CDA zone for the properties identified as 161, 167 Mount Edward Road, PID numbers 390260, 390237, and 566976. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Zoning and Development Bylaw, PHZD 2097, as it pertains to the properties identified as 161, 167 Mount Edward Road, PID numbers 390260, 390237, and 566976 is attached, be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of the council, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff and seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
Shall I carry? Pass. Okay.
To adopt the official plan amendment PHOPA 051, that the land use for the unaddressed properties identified as PID numbers 134975 and 1180348 as shown on Appendix A, future land use map of the City of Charlottetown plan, is designated as comprehensive planning area, hereby excluding it from its former designation of low density residential. Be it resolved that the official plan amendment PHOPA 1051 as it pertains to the unaddressed properties identified as PID numbers 134975 and 1180348 as attached be adopted, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe. To adopt bylaw PHZD 2098, a bylaw to amend the zoning development bylaw to amend Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from low-density residential single R2S zone to the comprehensive development area CDA zone for the unaddressed subject properties identified as PID numbers 134957. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown, be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown zoning and development bylaw PHZD 2098 as it pertains to the unaddressed properties identified as PID numbers 134975 and 1180348 as attached be read a first time and approved, and that it be read a second time at the next public meeting of council, and that's moved by Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Julie McCabe.
And just let the record note that Councillor Duran did leave because conflict of interest. Shall it pass? Okay. So can someone ask Councillor, okay. Yeah. Do you want to sum it up then, Deputy?
I just wanted to mention, I erred at the beginning of my report when I said that the permit approvals were available up to the end of March. I meant to say up to the end of the week of May 2nd, so they're in there. Sorry about that. Just a
Okay.
clarification.
Thank you
They're
very
all in your
much.
package.
Okay. That's your report. Next report, Environment and Sustainability. Councillor Trevor McKinnon.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Environment Sustainability Committee met on April 30th. The minutes are in your package, and there's 2 resolutions for your consideration. For a couple of highlights. April saw a rise of over 7% ridership on the transit over last April, with over 119,000 riders, with over 500,000 transit riders so far this year. The Charlottetown Bike Bus successfully launched its pilot program with West Kent and Lucy Maud Montgomery on May 8th and 9th. The bike bus will run weekly at each school until the end of the school year. Building on the success of this pilot program will be offered to all schools in the fall of 2025. And Charlottetown businesses are encouraged to take part in the Business Tree Challenge. This annual event gives local businesses an opportunity to offset their paper usage and show their commitment to the environment. This year's event has taken place on June 4th at Windsor Park, Ward 8, and you can visit charlottetown.ca/business tree challenge to learn how to be involved. Thank you. Any questions? I'll do my best to answer them. Our manager's not here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. Want to read the first one there, Sue?
Leave it on. Oh, okay. Environment and Sustainability Resolution Number 1, moved by Councillor Trevor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Norman Beck. Be it resolved that Council approve the sole sourcing of the Causal Watch to establish a detailed and robust monitoring and reporting framework to track the progress of the city's climate action plan at a total annual cost of $16,800, and that Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Thank you. Any questions? Questions called? Councillor Beck? Good. All those in favor? Okay. Got another one there?
Environment Sustainability Resolution Number 2, moved by Councillor Trevor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Norman Beck. That Council rescind Resolution 2024 COCR 0259, approved on November 12th, 2024 for a Nova Bus order for 4 battery electric buses at a cost of $6,346,014.51 before tax, and that council approve the purchase in March 2026 delivery of 4 new transit buses from Nova Bus for $3,714,845 before taxes, and further that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I'm just wanting clarification on this. Like, where are we going? We bought a depot. You know, we were supposed to get that up and running, get some electric buses in. You know, the $6 million was in the budget. Now we dropped it down to 3.7. You know, where does that money go? For one thing, are we still building? I don't see any movement down there. I thought council passed that we were going to go with all electric buses. So where are we before we can bid on this or pass this? I'd like to know, what is our future for electric buses and an electric bus station? Maybe the director can get that if
Can I
Trevor
just go
can't,
through
or
first the
the chair, yeah? Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Duran. The tender, or the resolution was rescinded, the one for the electric buses, that we rescinded that a couple of meetings ago, I believe, or was it? But
That's what's being rescinded tonight.
rescinded, okay, here. And we're going forward now with 4 diesel buses, Councillor Duran. With the depot, I'm not sure where we're at, to be honest. Maybe Director Richard may have an answer for that one. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. So we presented to Council an alternate plan to achieve equal environmental benefit at lower cost, and slowing down at this point in time our transition to electrification of the system, but still looking at smaller buses and increasing the level of service to our community by purchasing the additional diesel buses at this time. So by purchasing the diesel buses, we would spend less money but be able to expand the service, which actually has a greater environmental benefit for the community at a lower cost.
Councillor Drawn, did you also ask about the transit shed? Go ahead, just ask, sorry.
So that's where I'm at. Like, we were kind of told that we were going to buy this property down by the 1911 jail there, and then we were going to change it all around. That's where our electrification was going to come from. That was the best case scenario. We were going to get new electric buses. And I had asked the question, I was on the environment at one time, is that the best way to go? Because a lot of these buses weren't working out. And we were told at that time, yes, that's capital project. Let's buy that property. Let's put in the electrification of the buses. We're all going green. This is what we're doing. And then we knew that some of the buses were aging, and then it came back that, you know, we could go with smaller buses, which would be better. But at this point in time, I don't know, is the city moving ahead with electrification of buses, or are we looking to order any, or where are we at?
Could I ask, Councillor McKinnon, do you want to defer, or do you want to? Okay.
Yes, thank you. So on electric buses, we are looking at smaller electric buses as we move forward with the plan. At this point in time, the resolution before you is to purchase additional buses to replace existing diesel buses. So we did an evaluation of the project's costs and benefits and are presenting to council that it is at a lower cost and equal environmental benefit to proceed with diesel buses at this time.
Clarification, Mayor Brown.
Is a point of clarification
Yes, he's
Okay.
not answering the question
about the depot?
about the depot.
Okay, thank
You know,
you.
alls I hear is we're going, you know, smaller buses, which I understand. That's a good idea, but you're still not answering the question that council was told we were going to buy the depot, we were going to electrify, good news story, we're going to buy a bunch of buses, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I'm here asking a question where he just keeps going around the room saying that we're getting smaller buses, diesel buses. Answer the question that I asked. Thank
So
you.
we bought the land, you know that.
I understand that.
Now you just want to know about the
Yeah,
depot.
where are we?
Mr. McEwen, I know we did pass a resolution in December, but that was paused. Anyways, you can explain it.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So the transit depot project remains on hold, and we anticipate hearing back from our funding partners that we can transition that piece of the funding. So the funding associated with this purchase has been agreed to. Our funding partners are supporting us in this transition, and we're waiting to hear on the project that relates to the electrification of the depot, and we anticipate hearing from that in the very near future.
Okay. Councillor Drawn, you can follow up. No, just follow up in the next, okay? Thank you. And also at the standing committee if you wish to go. Okay, question? Questions called? All those in favor? Okay, 10-0. Okay, is that it? Do we have another resolution? Okay. Is that it there, Councillor McKinnon? Okay, next one is Public Works, Councillor Mitchell-Tweel.
Members of council, we have five resolutions for council's consideration this evening. Just want to bring to your attention two or three items. One is the five-year sidewalk plan. The sidewalk plan is a guide. We've been running into some difficulties with our five-year plan. I know in the last year or so, Councillor Drawn, you had some issues there in Cedar with the sidewalk. And then we went through a very challenging situation with the sidewalk on Angus Drive. And residents are somewhat mystified as to how the sidewalk became entrenched in the five-year plan. And I think now we have to go back, because this is the second time around the residents were opposed. We're in a dilemma, I guess, where we have no choice but to proceed. But nonetheless, it tells me that there's discrepancies in the five-year plan, particularly when it comes to citizen engagement, where residents are crystal clear, and they're crystal clear in support for infrastructure of this magnitude. I mean, these are big-ticket items, and that's something we're going to have to do. We're going to have to do a full review of the five-year sidewalk plan. I'm going to look at along with the committee, senior management, look at making sure that the residents in these neighborhoods and communities are totally on side with this infrastructure. So just wanted to bring that to council's attention. Secondly, with all the development, of course, we had two resolutions here tonight. Mount Edward Road, it seems like now every month there's a major development taking place in Mount Edward Road. And over the years, if Scott Adams was still with us here today, he would tell you that I've lobbied hard for a traffic plan for Mount Edward Road. We need a traffic plan for Mount Edward Road, which would include pedestrian safety infrastructure, particularly in the west side. If you look at Mount Edward Road, there's industrial traffic, there's commercial traffic, residential traffic. The traffic is just unprecedented. No different than probably what you see in North River Road, but Mount Edward Road brings a whole host of other challenges with all that heavy industrial traffic. So with all this development, there is a cost to the municipality in terms of providing the necessary prerequisite infrastructure, and that's something that I'm going to be asking our staff to put on the docket and to set up the process for a traffic plan for Mount Edward Road. I think it's long overdue. It's badly needed, and that's something we need to embark on as soon as possible. And here earlier tonight, we talked about a traffic study which would ask developers in Kensington Road to see if that would be part of a developer's agreement. But in the bigger picture, I think, Councilor Matart, you would agree that Kensington Road has an enormous amount of traffic as well. And I think we need to now look at Kensington Road too in terms of traffic counts and to see, to make sure that, this particular road and the infrastructure that is necessary for all this development meets the needs of these particular challenges. So I just wanted to bring that to council's attention. I'll do my best to answer any questions, but I can't. I know that our acting manager, Riley Tweel, will certainly be able to answer these much more capable than I am. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Yankoff? Councillor Drawn next.
Thank you. Thank you for your report, Councillor Tweel. So I listened to your Public Works meeting, and then I attended Finance meeting. And I just wouldn't mind that clarification then, because you talked about the 5-year sidewalk plan being more of a working document, whereas what I heard was that it was a plan that council passed as a resolution. And so I guess I'm looking for some clarification. Is it a working document, or is it something that we passed in council? And I guess I just want to make sure we're all on the same page about that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, it's a good question. I would suggest that the 5-year plan is a guide, because you can add, you can delete. We did that a couple of years ago when we decided to move ahead with the active transportation pathway in Towers Road. That's an excellent case in point. So, if I just mentioned some disparities and discrepancies in the 5-year plan, that has to be reviewed. We have to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, because, residents out on Angus Drive, they're not happy. On the south side of Angus Drive, they're not happy. So, the red flags have come up. I've asked staff to do a review. They did a review. There's some challenges in terms of city being penalized and, wanting to move ahead with this infrastructure, but that tells me we've got more work to do, particularly when it comes to citizen engagement. And that's critical, it's crucial to wanting infrastructure in front of their respective properties. I know, Councillor Durand, you had a community meeting as well regarding Cedar Drive. So, that's an example. Angus Drive is an example. That's why we need to do a total review.
Okay, Councillor Drawn. Can I come back to you? I just want to follow up on that one right quick.
Thank you for that, Councillor Tweel. So just as a follow-up on that, so if I'm hearing you correctly, the 5-year plan is just a guide. So we can't assume that just because X number street is next on the line necessarily means it's the next one, because it's a working document. Is that correct?
I will tell you after we've completed our review. It'd be premature for me to answer that right now, but we got to go through a review. I mean, these are big expenditures. $1 million, I think, on Cedar. I think it's $1 million in Angus Drive. I would be irresponsible to say that, oh yeah, we're fully entrenched with that plan. We need to go back and review to make sure that the residents, and let's do it now before the tenders go out and the infrastructure shows up in people's front lawns. Let's do that, that necessary analysis. And again, I want to come back to what I said earlier about citizen engagement, which is critical. It's critical to approving any type of plan or guide.
Okay. Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Mayor Brown, and thank you, Councillor Tweel, for your report. I just have a concern or a request that I'm asking you to take back to your committee for this month and discuss the house beside the Sherwood Hall. I think we bought it, I think it was 1.5 years ago. We went out to tender. There was nobody accepting the tenders, and it sits there. I think we're on the unsightly bylaw docket now. So, here it is, year and a half, there's no real plan in place. So what we were hoping to do, we had 500 approved in the budget for the Sherwood Hall, is to either move that house and look at an expansion or a new hall. And what it is now is it's stalled. The house sits there. We have to look after it. It could be dangerous. Someone could break in just like any other house. and we got to get it out of there. So I've asked one of our acting managers there to look at it, and there's just no plan in place yet. So I would like to ask you to put it on your docket for the next monthly meeting to see if we can get this started. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Yes, Councillor Drown, that's a reasonable request, and absolutely, Riley, could you please make sure that's on our agenda for the next meeting? Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Bernard.
Just back on the sidewalks, I just want to talk about it for a minute, because I think Angus Drive, when I recall Angus Drive, all the concern at that time was when the province was expanding St. Peter's Road to 4 lanes, and there was some that didn't want the roundabout going in by Mel's store. And some of those people lived on Angus Drive, so one of the things was they were concerned about the amount of traffic that was going to be on Angus Drive. As it turns out, the roundabout is done, there's not much traffic on Angus Drive. I would suggest that if the people that live in that street don't want it, then it would move. I mean, you have your 5-year list. If you look in finance, you'll see the resolution that was passed for the 5-year plan. And it was passed January 21st, 2022, and it gives a list there of the 5 years of the sidewalks that was proposed. So I think if they don't want Angus Drive to be done, then that money can be put down to another sidewalk moves up. So.
The tenders are out.
Oh, well, I'm just saying, but if they don't want it, don't spend the money. I mean, the tenders are out to build it?
We've had a lot of work into this.
Okay, so it's going in anyway. I should have been brought to here sooner.
Well,
Go ahead.
I don't disagree, and that's why we need to go through the current 5-year plan, whatever you want to call it. We got to go through it with a fine-tooth comb, because this can't happen again.
Well,
This
been out
can't
since
happen
tw-
again
but
because
it's been out.
the feedback I've received from the residents on the south side
Yeah.
is that they're not in favor. And this is not a criticism of our senior administration. I mean, they were doing what they believe was their due diligence and moving ahead based on the 5-year plan. But what was the critical piece that was missing was there was no citizen engagement. And really what should happen in these situations, I know we've had it in, when we're putting in brand new infrastructure or doing some work that's changing the dynamic of a neighborhood. We would have neighborhood meetings of Riley, and when Scott was here, we've had community meetings, and they went over extremely well. Good information, exchange of information, and I'm not trying to be critical, but that was the missing piece here, and maybe this whole thing could have been averted. And as you say, if they weren't in favor of it, then that money could have been spent somewhere else. And I just want to go back to what you said about no traffic on Angus Drive. The section where the highway commercial went in to go into Angus Drive, in that section of Angus Drive, there's a tremendous amount of traffic. There really is. I'm not saying the whole street, but in that particular section, there is. It's a going concern. It really is. So that's what I hope to accomplish with, going over the 5-year plan.
Just Councillor Bernard, just 1 second. CAO Sue, did you want to, and Riley, just update us what's going on? I think tenders are out.
Just for clarification for public record, Your Worship, when this concern was brought forward by the Chair of Public Works as well as the councillor responsible for that area, it was last week. And at that point in time, we went out to the site last Friday in good faith just to try to get a lay of the land and see how far down the road we were. That work was awarded last fall as part of an overall tender for 24-25 sidewalks. Angus was one of the last ones to get done, but it's part of an awarded tender that was awarded by this council in the fall. And Angus, we looked it up, and Angus Drive was listed in the resolution as one of the properties or one of the areas to be done in that tender. There were several in there, but it was included as well. And our inability to back away from that at this stage of the game was based on the fact that we had already spent significant money, or the bidder had already spent significant money in doing all the survey work and all the groundwork related to getting the sidewalk underway, which was scheduled to start this week. So it was way too late for us to pivot and go to another site, because that whole area had already been surveyed and had already been agreed upon by council last fall.
Okay, Councilor Bernard, you can wrap it up because it's your second time, please. I think she's giving you the information.
That's fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. Rarely you come across this. I mean, usually the council of the area or whatever, there's people that usually want it. That's how it gets on the list. I mean, I've never really heard of this before. It goes on the list and then nobody wants it. But anyway, it's unfortunate to hear we're going to spend money to put something in that nobody wants.
It'll be
So
used.
Is there no negotiating we can do with the contractor to move it to another section? That's
Work's
not
done.
started yet? I mean, it's $468,000 according to this.
What about the engineer? Riley, you're the engineer.
Thanks, Worship. We reviewed those things in our review of the whole matter and ultimately recommending that the project does go ahead. Feel it is the most reasonable way forward to mitigate the risk that we run for paying some potential penalties or really being kind of hit with some fees that are sunk costs that the contractor has already realized based on them having been awarded the tender last fall and have them being under the impression that they would be doing this work in the spring. So they've been preparing to do so over the last number of months. So big part of why the recommendation was to proceed with this project was we either spend the money to do the project as tendered, as awarded by council, or we spend an undetermined amount of money and get nothing. So I feel the best solution is to carry out this project. We are committed to reviewing the sidewalk plan. As Councillor Tweel has mentioned, we've made that commitment over the last several months as the budget discussions around sidewalk have been ongoing, and we hope to have that fully confirmed before the end of the summer ahead of subsequent budget discussions. So I hope that clarifies things.
Yeah,
Nobody wants it.
yeah.
How does it end up on the list?
Well, it did.
Anyway,
Riley, thank you very much. Okay, got a couple of resolutions. Do you have 5? Okay, Sue, do you want to read the first, please?
Public Works Committee,
CAO.
Resolution Number 1, moved by Councillor Mitchell Tweel, seconded by Councillor John McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for 4 new 3500 series crew cab chassis work trucks, the submission from Summerside Chrysler Dodge in the amount of $73,776 each plus all applicable taxes for a total of $295,104 plus all applicable taxes be accepted, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Question called? Question called. Thank you, Councilor Ramsey. All in favor? 10-0. Next one.
Resolution Number 2 from Public Works Committee, moved by Councillor Mitchell Tweel, seconded by Councillor John McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for supply of hot mix asphalt, tack, and cold mix, the unit price submission of the Island Construction Limited in the amounts of $191.10 per metric ton, plus all applicable taxes for B mix asphalt, $209.30 per metric ton, plus all applicable taxes for D mix asphalt, $2,400 per metric ton, plus all applicable taxes for tack, and $285 per metric ton, plus all applicable taxes for cold mix be accepted, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Question called. All those in favor? Pretty easy. 10-0.
Public Works Resolution Number 3, moved by Councillor Mitchell Tweel, seconded by Councillor John McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for topsoil supply, the unit price submission for D&D landscaping in the amount of $17.95 per cubic yard, plus all applicable taxes for common topsoil, and $24.25 per cubic yard plus all applicable taxes for screened topsoil be accepted, and that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Just let the record reflect that Councillor Duran stepped out because he's in conflict. All those in favor? 9-0. Next one.
Public Works Resolution Number 4, moved by Councillor, we were waiting for, sorry, Councillor Duran. Moved by Councillor Mitchell Tweel, seconded by Councillor John McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for supply of ready-mix concrete and aggregate, the unit price submissions from CRM Ready Mix Limited in the amount of $238.25 per cubic yard plus all applicable taxes for 32 MPa concrete, $242.75 per cubic yard plus all applicable taxes for 35 MPa concrete, $57 per metric ton plus all applicable taxes for Class A granular, $60 per metric ton plus all applicable taxes for 1.5 crushed rock and $15 per cubic yard of concrete plus all applicable taxes for fiber mesh be accepted. And that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
It's a good price. Questions called? All those in favor? All in favor? 10-0.
Public Works Resolution Number 5, moved by Councillor Mitchell Tweel, seconded by Councillor John McAleer, that as per the conditions of the public request for quotes for backhoe and truck hire for culvert services, the hourly rate submissions of Lee McDonald Construction in the amount of $69.50 per hour, plus all applicable taxes for truck hire with operator, and $71.50 per hour, plus all applicable taxes for backhoe hire with operator be accepted. And that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Questions called? All those in favor? 10-0. You're against? Okay, thank you. Just 1 second. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Tweel. That's it? Okay. Next report is, I think, Finance. Finance and Audit? Councillor McAleer?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. The Finance Audit Tender Administration Committee met May 7th, 25. Draft minutes are included in your package. There's one resolution for your consideration. I'll do my best to answer any questions, and fail and been able to answer them. CFO Dan and Finance Manager Lane Pino is in the gallery.
Okay. Councillor Duran?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Brown, and thank you, Councillor McAleer, for your report. I'd like to reference 433 in your minutes of your meetings on May the 7th. And particularly, I know there's a bunch of jobs that are not filled, but we get down to water and sewer utility. We have 4 there. We have another lady's job that hasn't been filled that she left in November. And I'm thinking, okay, what is it with the city here? We have a corporation, Water and Sewer Corporation, water and wastewater back 100 years ago, but we fall into the city. You know, it's like we're not separate. Why or the reasons? And I guess I'll bring this up at our committee meeting that, you know, I'm going to look into the upcoming meeting of why we have 2 corporations here. I don't believe Summerside or other places have them. And with these jobs, I find that it's putting a lot of stress or a lot of pressure on the manager that, you know, he didn't attend our last meeting, and I don't think he's here tonight, because he's working a job down at the plant and doing a very good job and overseeing people. So, we have four jobs that are not filled for months and months and months on end. And I'm wondering, why is this? I know when the police, they had problems of getting police, give the chief credit. He changed with the union's help to put a better price on when they start. So if we can't fill these jobs due to the market says that people don't want to come here, then that's putting us at risk here. We're going to burn out our manager, I just don't understand it. Why aren't these jobs being filled? Maybe you can enlighten me a little bit, Councillor McAleer? Thank you, because the discussion would have been at finance. Thank you.
Councillor McAleer.
No, thank you for your comments and concern, Councillor Drong. And as you know, I sit on, as it relates to your water and sewer piece, you chair that committee, and I sit on it with you. And I know we did have discussion at our last meeting on that in terms of a certain position there, and I guess it's certainly been a challenge. I don't know if money's the problem or not. In my opinion, it seems to pretty good pay scale. So I don't know as it relates to water and sewer. And I'll pass off here shortly to Manager Richard, and I don't know if Dan has anything further on the rest of these positions, but that is the only comment I can kind of share with you on that, Councillor Drown. We'll turn it over to staff, and maybe Richard, if you want to take that. Thank you.
Sure, Your Worship, through to Councillor Durong. Certainly appreciate the support from the chair of the Water and Sewer Utility, and welcome the discussion at our next committee meeting, how we can continue. I mean, we've hired a recruiting firm to try and help us with filling these positions. It is a challenging environment to recruit, and there aren't many people who have the qualifications that we seek for this, but we are continuing our recruitment efforts and appreciate your support.
Strong.
Thank you, and thank you for your reply. What the problem is here is, this screws or misconstrues or whatever you want to do it with our budgets. We're sitting here with 5 jobs not filled, and then it looks like in the spring, well, the water and sewer, we have surplus or whatever. I guess we will take it back to the committee and to see why the corporation fits in the way it does. Who does the water and sewer department, reply to? Here we have a director, is paid for by the city, but the water corporation is separate. The manager is there, but he can't make his decisions because there's oversight. That whole big dialogue has to come at the next meeting, and I just want to make you aware that, this is not acceptable to have these jobs open for months and months on end. So we'll bring it up at the next meeting. Thank you.
Yeah. And just for a point of information, Summerside Electric is a separate corporation. Yeah, it is. Separate books. There's a history too, right, Mr. McEwen? There is a history that goes back past 100 years of the Water and Wastewater Commission. Okay. Well, I think it came about an amalgamation. The amalgamation, they kept the commission in place, but made it a standing committee off council. But they kept the books and the corporate status separate, because there's also a separate union. They have a CUPE 830, do they not? And they also have some CUPE members that are still under the old pension plan.
It's another billing system too, it's taxation.
Richard, did you want to add?
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. So the utility also has customers outside the city of Charlottetown. Charlottetown Water and Sewer Utility actually provides services to eastern Prince Edward Island. It is more than just servicing the city of Charlottetown, and certainly the history. I mean, there's a lot of history for the Water and Sewer Corporation, and we have a book on the history. But at amalgamation, the Charlottetown Water and Sewer Corporation became a wholly owned corporation of the city of Charlottetown.
Correct. I think the first chair was Councillor Brown, Richard Brown. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Bernard, did you want to say something?
Thank you. I just want to put in context, the reason this is here under finance, Your Worship, is we had asked staff to bring back to us, to go through all the departments and list what jobs are vacant and how long they've been vacant. So that's why it's here. Our understanding from the meeting was that most of these positions are in the process of being filled. So HR would probably give a better answer for the water and sewer ones, but we were left with the impression that there was work being done. All these that you see here, there was work being done to get those positions filled. So that's why it's under the finance.
Wrap it up there?
Just the question on the arborist, that happened after the Fiona, and council determined that, you know, we have to get a couple of our own people to go around cutting trees. And I mean, then we were told the next year that we were waiting for a truck because we can't hire them without a truck. So now we're here, sitting here two and a half years, but maybe 3 years later, and they're in a position of arborist, but no one's getting any trees cut. So, you know, what is the holdup? Is there nobody, you know, applying? Did we not put it out? Did we not get a truck? Where are we at with this? Thank you.
Okay. I guess it'll be something that HR will have to look at. Councillor Beck? Oh, okay, Mr. Jenkins?
Through your worship to Councillor Duran, I understand that we are still waiting for that truck, and the positions would be filled as soon as we get it, but that is, hasn't been received yet, so there was a delay in the tendering, or delay in the delivery.
So we did go out for a truck, but
Yes.
it's just delayed to getting here?
Yeah, it hasn't been delivered yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Resolution? Okay.
Audit tendering administration resolution moved by Councillor John McAleer, seconded by Councillor Terry Bernard, that the City of Charlottetown provides grants to external community organizations as outlined in the attached report to Finance, FIN 212025 for the fiscal period of 25-26, and that the City of Charlottetown notes the schedule has been revised to reflect an approved annual operating grant to the Boys and Girls Club of Charlottetown, which was missed on the list provided to Council on April 29th, 2025. That the City of Charlottetown notes that the revised list can be funded within the existing community grants budget for the 25-26 fiscal year.
Tweel?
Yep. Just on the addition for the Boys and Girls Club. So again, is the grants in terms of how they're awarded, whether they can be added or deleted, is it also a working document? So if there's an organization missed the opportunity, can they still fill out an application for a grant? Is there still an opportunity there?
Councillor McAleer?
Thank you for your question, Councillor Tweel. The short answer to that, I believe, is no, just due to the deadline sensitivity. I believe it's November 30th. If there's anything different to that, I see Dan shaking his head in agreement. Thank you.
Okay. Question? Questions called? All those in favor? Okay. 10-0. Okay, so that's the last of that. Grants, okay. Wow. Next is, I think, economic development. I see Mr. Wayne Long's back.
The Economic Tourism and Coastal Development Committee, Your Worship, met on April 16th. And the minutes are obviously in your package. No resolutions tonight, Your Worship, but we have second reading to amend the Business Improvement Area, BIA, bylaw. Couple of highlights, though, Your Worship, for you on council. The Manager of Economic Growth and Attraction, Wayne Long, participated in the Global Affairs Canada, Invest in Canada Asian Roadshow. with stops in Taiwan and Singapore. The mission aimed to promote Canadian economic foreign direct investment opportunities abroad, to also bring foreign investment to Prince Edward Island, to Charlottetown. The mission aimed Innovation PEI and the City of Charlottetown also took part in the mission, Your Worship. And also, Your Worship, I had the opportunity with myself and staff, with Wayne Long and Laura Lee. We had a meeting with Minister Zach Bell and his staff, Brody O'Keefe and Kent McDonald, to work closely together on future trade missions, Your Worship. They've gone on some trade missions that I don't think our staff in the past had been invited, which I think is probably instrumental if we want to bring business to Charlottetown. There may be some tax breaks, tax incentives, and so on that we could be selling on behalf of the City of Charlottetown. So they've agreed. We're looking for some closer ties and better communication between the two levels of government on that. The summer festival season kicks off this weekend with Street Fest on Kent Street, May 16th, 17th. And in Gilbert, as everybody knows, the musical begins its summer run next week. And Charlottetown Rib Fest, it's always a favorite. And the Red Rock Classic Basketball Tournament will round out the month, Your Worship. So there is a couple of exciting announcements coming on Friday on our Capital City Canada Day stage headliners. And I think people will be pleased when they hear them. And there's an exciting international sport event that will take place in July that's still under embargo. So that will be coming out pretty soon. So, Your Worship, I'll do my best to answer any questions if there's any. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you for your report. Just wanted to get an update on the work that's being completed at the Eastlink Center in terms of monies set aside to do design work. My question is, the city's going to spend, let's say, a couple of $1 million or more, and I wonder, should we have a guarantee from potential funding partners as to whether or not they're on sides financially before we commit, a dollar value of that magnitude? And with the $2 million that the City of Charlottetown has committed to in terms of design work, do we have an estimate as to how much this particular renovations will take place? Is it, I hear figures, from $50 million up to $80 million. And I just wonder, what the ballpark figure actually is. And the third question, if it's okay, does that mean we still have the same management agreement with the Islanders Hockey Club? Is that subjected to change, or will that continue on in terms of the status quo?
Thank you, Councillor Twill. Councillor Bernard? Three questions?
So, Councillor Twill, you recall when we approved the $2.5 million, that was for they could go to engineering and architectural design, so they can get that done to be able to go to the potential funders. So that was that first step. So that apparently is not going to be done until, I believe, August. They said at the time it would take approximately 4 to 6 months. The project was pegged at between 38 and 40 million for the renovation. Not 80 or 90 million. It was pegged between 38 and 50 million. And the agreement with the Islanders, that's a contract that has an expiry date, and whenever that expires, there's always a renewal, and how that's determined will be from the board at the Eastlink Center. So I'm not sure if the renovation changes anything. I know there's always negotiating done between the Charlottetown Islanders and the Eastlink Center, so that would be up to the board, and it will come back to council for approval. So hope that answers your question.
Can Councillor McAleer go first, and then we'll come right back to you. Councillor McAleer?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. And just as it relates, Councillor Twill kind of triggered me, as it relates to the Islanders Hockey Club and their grant piece. I believe the city has the right, at least once a year or whatever, and certainly not familiar since I've been sitting on council, which hasn't been that long, but that I'm wondering, when was the last time that was done, and is it something that we can see that, that does happen, that we do sit down and we have the right, I believe, to look at their financial statements and what's going on, so we have a sense of, because we do support that group significantly in our, as we all know, grants budget. Thank you. Yeah, whenever the contract is open for negotiation, we usually do get the audited statements, and the contracts we normally sign here have been 3 years or 5 years. I think the latest one, I believe, is due to expire, correct me if I'm wrong, due to expire this year? 2026? So obviously it'll be renegotiated again in 2026. So, thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you. So your estimate is approximately 40 million. So, I mean, I did hear different figures here at City Hall. People are just throwing figures, bandying about different, what they figure, what the cost would actually be. So what is the benchmark? Okay, so you're suggesting 40 million. So let's say it comes in at 60 million. What is the benchmark where we say, you know what, it's a facility that's 31 years old, maybe we should be looking at a brand-new facility, whatever that cost is, and what the amenities are included in the facility. So is there a benchmark that you're aware of, or the board, working with the consulting engineers, have there been any discussions? Mr. Wayne Long is here. He sits on the board as the city's representative. I understand there have some drawings have been shown, or there is some preliminary work done. So I'm just trying to get an understanding as to, like, when does it come to city council, say, you know what, council, it's going to cost, let's say 60 million, 70 million. I'm just throwing that out there for discussion purposes. And then when does it get to the point where we need to put the brakes on it? So, you know what, if we're going to spend 70 or let's say $80 million, just for the sake of discussion, maybe, spending that kind of money on a 31-year-old building, by the time it gets built, I mean, it's probably going to be 32, 33 years old. I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Yeah, no. And Council, you may recall John Abbott, the general manager, was in here and made a presentation, and during our capital budget process, he had said that the preliminary that they got was actually 38 to 44 million. I pegged it at 50. And that's why they want the engineering architectural drawings done, and they can get a firmer price. We haven't gone anywhere yet. I think you're probably getting ahead of yourself. They still have to get potential funding partners before we take the next step. So to be able to see what funding partners are there and what dollars the different levels of government may have, what programs, they have to have the architectural engineering design drawings done. So that's we're looking at. My understanding is around August, and then after that, they'll talk to the different funding partners, and it'll come back to the city. There'll be no movement or no contract or anything done until we get some firm figures. So, thank you.
Councillor Tarrant, Ward 2.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would just like to add to this discussion a little bit, just to be transparent. The staff at the Eastlink Centre have reached out to myself and the mayor about coming to a meeting there on Thursday, just to kind of look at some of the concept drawings, and the focus around that was because I'm the councillor of the ward that resides in. So I certainly said that I would do my best to attend, but I also put out in that same reply that that invitation should be extended to all of council. So I'm not sure if that invitation, because the response back was, yes, there is a plan to do that, but I'm not sure if that is what's in the plan for Thursday, or if that was just extended to you and I at that point in time.
I didn't expand on it. You told me about it, so I was just following your order.
It came in directly through her, I think it came in through Jackie, I believe, yeah. Anyways, nonetheless, I'm going to attend it on Thursday. I feel all of council should be there, not just me. They extended to me based on the ward councillor, so
yeah,
I think it's an open invitation.
Yeah.
4 o'clock. I can get the information to whoever wants to go.
Yep, get Jackie.
I have to wonder, is that the preliminary drawings that
Yes,
they've
it
already
is.
presented to us?
Yeah. Preliminary
the
design
architectural-
concepts and next steps.
Pardon me?
Preliminary design
Yeah,
concepts
so
and
we've
next
already
steps.
seen that.
Who's we?
That's what they brought in here when they made their presentation. That's the preliminary. That's why we're waiting for the engineering and architectural design to be done. So
not
it
sure.
sounds like, I think you had some questions for the general manager over the article, the papers.
I
He's
did,
probably
yeah.
inviting you to be able to show you what they plan on doing, is what I would suspect.
I don't know the context of it other than put it out there that when I wrote back to the mayor and Jackie, I think it was, it should be extended to all of council. So I'm not sure, if you didn't get that, that's, apologize for not, you're getting on the list, but if anybody's interested, let me know and we'll send it out to East Link Center staff.
We'll find out from Jackie.
I don't know
Okay,
what it
we'll-
is at this point.
Yeah, I'll get Jackie to reach out to him and then extend it to council. But again, I don't know what the information is. I think it's more related to Ward 2 issues.
Here, council. He may have missed the meeting, so.
Your worship, I have a little more information to add to that if you, yeah. I did reach out to Carly Mayhew, who actually is handling the public engagement on this with the architecture firm. So she said our plan for community engagement on the design is to host a community open house in June, along with online engagement opportunities. For councils, we would like to propose a council information session around that time as well, and we can also meet with city staff. So I suspect that there will be an opportunity to engage come June.
Yeah, and as Councillor Twill said, we can have a plan, but there has to be a business plan, and that has to have other partners. Like, I know we can borrow up to 12% of our total assessment, which is about 500 million, but we're not going to be borrowing that. I'm just saying that there has to be a business plan, and there has to be partners coming to the table. I think we all agree.
And just to, your last question, Councillor Twill, about building new, the Avenue Centre, my understanding was 120 million. And to build the Avenue Centre today, you're at 220 million. So it'd be a very expensive build to build brand new. So, but anyway, once the architectural design and engineering drawings are done, we'll have a look at it. But I know from the preliminary, if you go to that meeting, you'll see it's a pretty substantial renovation. So, anyway, thank you.
Wrap up there, Councillor Twill.
Pardon me?
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, I understand that, but, we're talking facilities of that magnitude, new contemporary buildings. You have to look at what these facilities are offering compared to what we're proposing to do. Again, you're looking at a building that's 31 years old. It has, when it comes to the structure, I mean, there's many challenges. What you're going to be doing is adding. I don't know if you're enhancing, improving what's there, but you're adding to the facility from the top down, concourse around the top and the outside, and then maybe some corporate boxes and improving the dressing rooms for the
5,200 seats, bringing the seats down to glass.
Yeah.
It is adding this kind of opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, I just ask, what is the benchmark, or if there is a benchmark, if it's 40 million, is it 50 million, 60 million? And say, well, wait a minute. Let's say it's up around 70 million. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just bring that up.
Yeah, okay, but we're going ahead. We're going ahead of ourselves. He has not reported that to us yet.
Well, you did say, you
Yes,
did say
yes,
$80
I
million.
did, because I got it at the FCM last year. when
Yeah,
I
you
was in
said $80
Calgary,
million.
Because they're doing one, they're looking at the Memorial Stadium in Peterborough.
So, I
And they're
mean,
looking at 80 million.
right,
And that's an
so-
80-year-old facility.
Right. So anyway, nonetheless,
80
I
years
bring
old,
that
80
up.
million.
I bring that up, again, just, Councilor Bernard, just for discussion purposes.
Okay. Councillor McNair.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Brown. This is just a comment, just on this whole thing with the, East Link Center and possible expansion. With a newly elected government here, a new cabinet, announced today. We've got good regional representation, in that cabinet. And hopefully, Liberal government and Mark Carney and his team will look favorably upon, a project like this when we get the detailed plans, Councillor Twill, that we need to be able to engage funding partners. I'd like to think maybe the timing is as good as it's ever going to be, with those possible partners. And, it'll be exciting to see where it goes. As it relates to the project cost, I mean, John Abbott and his group were in here. I mean, I basically heard him say, you know, throwing around this figure of 45 to 50 million, but that was kind of a range. But if it was 80, it's going to be a no-go. So that's kind of what I understood it to say. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, no, Kearney's at 170 seats, I think. Want to read that second reading?
Second reading, Your Worship, for the Business Improvement Area Bylaw, Amendment Bylaw to amend City of Charlottetown Business Improvement Area Bylaw to enhance the definition of business improvement area to include the option of a business improvement district assigned bylaw number 2025 BIA 01, reference to Municipal Government Act, revised definitions, format bylaw using the appropriate bylaw template, correct minor typographical errors, and ensure overall consistency throughout the bylaw. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown Business Improvement Area Bylaw be read a second time and that the said bylaw now be approved and adopted. And that's moved by Councillor Terry Bernard and seconded by Councillor Mitchell Tweel.
Shall it pass? Pass. Right on. Okay. Next is Human Resources, and Councillor Beck already has his button pressed.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Go ahead there, Councillor Beck.
Due to procedural bylaw technicalities, I guess, we were unable to meet. As we, in May, we didn't have quorum. We didn't know, so some of us were here, some of us were on our way, some of us, anyway. At the end of the day, we couldn't meet, so we will be meeting the next month. And anyway, that's what happened. Just a quick update, I guess, on our CAO. We're getting into the final stages. I think I stood here in the last monthly meeting and I made the prognostication that we would be probably wrapping up around right now. So I will not give any sort of false illusions as to when we will be wrapping up this process, other than saying that we will be trying to get it done as quickly as possible. We are entering into the final stages, and it's an exciting time. And you guys have all received the calendar invites for the next steps as well, too. So we'll hopefully get at that. So any questions, I'll feel free to answer them.
Okay. It's a blank piece of page there. Okay, strategic priorities. Oh, Councillor Tweel, sorry, I didn't see you there, Councillor Tweel.
Thank you, Councillor Beck. Just looking for just a number that your committee will be bringing to council for council's consideration when we examine potential CAO candidates. Will the number be 5, 4, or 3? Just looking for what number you're going to be bringing to council.
I don't know if you're at liberty, Councillor Beck, to give that, are you? It's a selection committee, I know.
Yeah, it'll be finalized. You'll know the number when we come to the final committee. We have to go through our final deliberations of the second phase. We're in the second phase of that. And the number we will be bringing will be determined following the completion of the second phase of interviews.
Yeah.
So we don't have a definite number to say, but you'll know soon enough.
Okay. Strategic priorities, communications, and intergovernmental cooperation. Councillor Matard, Ward 2.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Strategic Priorities, Communications, Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee met on April 24th of 2025. Your draft minutes are included in the package, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening. Any questions in the reports? I'll do my best to answer those for you. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I see we have the amendments to the procedural bylaw to look at tonight, because it's not tonight?
It's just part of their committee report.
Wonderful, because I want to still put out on the record that I'd like us to have an opportunity to come together as a full group to go through that before we get it here. Thank you.
Sorry, I got confused.
Councillor Matard.
Thank you, Councillor McCabe. And I think that is the understanding and the attempt that we want to do. So I'm not sure when we're going to be able to get that scheduled, but we certainly should get that on the docket here soon so that we can come in and have that discussion as a council as a whole to do that. So we'll make sure that we work towards getting that scheduled. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Councilor Matard, as you know, I've requested in successive city council meetings, I have requested minutes of meetings, correspondence between the city, Charlottetown, the provincial government. We see cabinet ministers in the news talking about meetings that were held, whether it's Park Street, Beach Street, the Outreach Center, the shelter that's there. The minister keeps referring to different meetings that have taken place with the city of Charlottetown. I've asked for all correspondence, minutes to meetings, and I've yet to receive that. I've been patient. In fact, I've been very patient with respect to asking that information. And I'm just wondering, is there a reason why I'm not getting that information? I think all council should have that information. We don't have the information, but I keep hearing, reading in the news, listening in the news, where the minister is referring to all these meetings that have taken place, whether it be with the mayor or, other elected officials or senior staff. And yet, maybe some members of council are aware what's taking place and who's attending these meetings and what was agreed upon or what's not agreed upon or what the understanding is or what the arrangement is. I have no idea, but it's pretty hard to sit back here and watch all this, and yet we don't have the information. And I guess I have to question, why is that? Why are we not getting the information? And like I said, I've been patient. I've asked. I've not only asked under your chairmanship, previous chair, the last 2 or 3 years, just not getting the information. And why is there, I'm not saying you are personally, but I'd like to know, why is there stonewalling taking place?
Thank you for your questions and comments, Councillor Twill. I think it's important for us to take a step back and understand the request and what you're looking for, because I too agree with you that we talked about here several meetings ago about putting a mechanism in place. And so I was anticipating that from that point in time, and I know you made the request in other areas. So going forward, that how we can be more open and transparent to all of council for meetings that were happening with other stakeholders within the city. So we agreed that we would look towards internal communication that we received from our communications officer that gives us some highlights of things that are happening. So when I read those and don't see something in there that is potentially, a meeting with the government or something, it leads me to believe that's not happening. I think some of what you're referring to, and is true, and what we're reading in the media, was prior to that. And so I think from that point, we were saying, okay, from this point on, we got to do better. We have to start having these meetings. We need to start to document minutes in those meetings and share those amongst council. So I'm confident, or I guess maybe I'm not confident. I don't know if there's been any meetings since that point to this point to have any of that information.
Yeah.
Where that information is prior to that, which you've asked for both in this committee and when the other previous chair was there, and maybe in years even prior, I can't speak to where that information is and why that hasn't got to you yet. Maybe it doesn't exist. I don't know. I think that would have to be between the parties who are having those meetings to share that with all of council or Councillor Twill. But I was, as the chair, committed to, from this point forward, that we would have that information and make that available to all of council. So if there are meetings that have happened in between there, we're still not sharing that information, then that's a problem, and we need to address that. So, and I think that goes not only for, because I do hear there are other, there are other councillors who meet, and it was open here tonight through Councillor Bernard. You indicated you met with the Minister of Tourism. Is there anything from that meeting that could be shared with all of council beside what was shared here tonight, just as an example, that we could have, so that that's open and transparent about what that discussion was about? You gave a bit of a highlight here tonight, but I don't think we all understand fully what the context of that was. But but it's a great meeting, and if we can put that stuff in there, that's perfect. I don't know if other other councillors here are having meetings with other, well, whether it be government, NGOs, other jurisdictions. We had the meeting up in Summerside. We were
Right.
very open and transparent about that.
Right, and then we had the FPEIM, which we attended, and I know that the minister was questioned in the House on the 29th of April. And it was questioned by Carla Bernard, and questioned to the minister, have you been meeting with elected representatives? Honourable Steve Myers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since coming into this role, I've met with a number of mayors, a number of councillors. I actually met with Councillor Mitchell Tweel yesterday for a coffee to talk about issues. That was brought up in the House, on the floor. I got a call that said it looks like Steve Myers, Minister Myers is talking about Councillor Tweel, so someone sent me answered. So we got updates, so like, guys, it's, you know, it's open field.
All right, so I guess we're going down a different, but
Yeah.
But to the point, I guess if those are things that are happening, that's the information that needs to be coming here. So I think the lesson in all this is, you know, whether they're official or unofficial meetings or whatever that may be, we need to be able to be open and transparent about what they are. So, you know, this committee is committed to providing whatever information we can that, you know, is in our purview to do so in whatever manner it is. But ultimately, I can't control every discussion that's happening and where it's happening.
No,
Yeah, and Melanie has created a folder for us where we're going to be storing those documents. So I hope that addresses your question, Councillor.
Councillor Tweel.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's great to sit down and have a coffee with someone and just round table issues and whatnot, but when city business is being done from a formal sense, that's a different kettle of fish. And when the minister comes out and says publicly, you know, we've had these meetings, for example, you know, when he's sending correspondence here to City Hall, I mean, that's official business. I mean, I can run into the minister and have a coffee with him, or I can talk to Jack Frost. Talk to Jack Frost for all that, you know.
Oh, he's talking about Jack Frost?
Pardon me?
He's talking about Jack Frost? I was just wondering.
I said I could run into Jack Frost and have a discussion with him.
Okay.
But, okay, Mr. Mayor, so the question becomes, you know, like, he's talking about all these meetings that have taken place with regards to, you know, Park Street, for example, you know, more or less encouraged to fill out the application, that everything's copacetic, everything's fine down there. I mean, there seems to be a miscommunication or lack of communication, misunderstanding, assurances, whatever you want to call it. That's what I want to understand, because I keep reading about it in the media. It's like, it doesn't go away. Every day there's a new revelation, right? I mean, now Blois Thompson has come out, and he's talking about, you know, a letter that you sent and the chief of police regarding not wanting to participate in that the JET program. Well, that wasn't discussed by City Council. That
No, it was
wasn't
an
brought
operational
here.
issue.
Pardon?
It's an operational issue.
Oh, I knew you were going to say it was an operation. No,
Why
you know
wouldn't I
what?
say that?
I beg
Anyways,
to
go
disagree.
ahead.
I beg to disagree. That's a council decision, because we're talking about providing services for our residents to be able to effectively deal. I'm not saying that we're not doing a good job in the drugs, but does that mean we can do better? I don't know. But I mean, when issues like that are coming to the forefront, like, once again, we're being blindsided. No, we are.
Again, he
no, hold
says
it.
here.
I got the floor. We're being blindsided.
Talked about issues.
We're being blindsided.
Yeah.
And we're not involved in these discussions. And I think every member of this council should be involved in these discussions, because we don't know what was offered to the city of Charlottetown. We don't know the real reasons why it was rejected. I mean, there was no letter put in our mailboxes. We weren't copied on the emails. So the question is, why? We need to be involved from the inception to the conclusion, and we're not involved. And it's wrong. It's wrong.
And we will be taking that up this evening under protective services. But again, you know, coffee, talk about issues,
not coffee.
back rooms. I can tell you right now.
It's not coffee. You made a decision.
No, it's right here in Hansard.
You made a decision.
Yeah,
Never
it's
mind.
Hansard.
You know what? You're fishing. You're
No, I'm
grasping
not.
for straws.
Yeah.
You made a decision.
What did I
on
make?
behalf of City Council, that we weren't going to participate in a new program that the city of Charlottetown could have been involved in. Maybe we shouldn't be involved in. I don't know, because we didn't have that discussion, right? So why isn't those discussions taking place with council before you sent correspondence down to the province
I think
saying
it's
we're not
unfair.
interested?
I think it's unfair to bring this up when the chief is not here. No, the chief is not here, and the chief will be coming in, but to bring this up because he just got back from Europe, so we had to take a day off. The CAO was informed about it, but we have Deputy Chief Coombs here, so we will address it at a future meeting with the chief here. Councilor McCabe.
So are we moved on to protective now? Because I
No,
can't answer that,
no,
okay?
no, I just want to finish up with priorities. Are we done with that?
I'm going to answer his question. I'll answer it in my committee.
Okay, you're done? Okay. Protective emergency services.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
On hers? Okay. Have a seat there. Okay, go ahead. And Councilor Bernard, do you have something on this issue too?
Thank you.
Kind of.
Just to kind of build on this general discussion that we seem to be having about communication and keeping each other informed, I think, the general consensus is what, if I'm hearing everyone correctly, is that council business, mayor and council business, all of mayor and all of council should always know and be privy to the information that's happening, whether a letter's been sent, a quick email to the rest of council with an FYI, here's the letter we sent, to keep us in the loop so that when we turn on the TV, or we listen to somebody saying that he doesn't care if we go to the moon, or ask somebody to move to the moon, that we're not blindsided by some of the discussions that are happening. But like any letters like that, just a quick, send it to council, or vice versa. If you're having a meeting, as Councilor Bernard did, he put it into his report, so we knew that he had this meeting. So that was great, so we were aware of that. And as for some of the meetings, when it came to the Planning and Heritage Department, as they weaved their way with the provincial staff about a path forward for what application the province should apply to, the staff of the Planning and Heritage Department followed the same process they would with any applicant, guiding, giving advice of what options there are, but never once saying that it was a slam dunk. And any meetings that I attended, in fact, one particular meeting that happened right in this chamber, when we had our previous CAO, she kept minutes. And in fact, those minutes have yet to be approved by the province to be able to be circulated. And then then the two other meetings that happened at the province, the onus would be on them to keep minutes. I didn't see any minutes either, but they were, so, I think the big thing is communication with the two levels of government, getting out of our silos, and you know what? Being kind to each other and the levels of government when we speak in public. And you know what? Lately, we haven't been seeing that, and it's shameful. Shameful.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we have to be careful too. I think, when you're chairing a committee, your role is to try to make improvements in that particular committee, and sometimes that means meeting with another level of government. I think you have to have the leeway to have that. I don't think there's anything secret here. I think the whole idea is to meet with them, to be able to make improvements for the city of Charlottetown, whichever committee that you're chairing. Part of your responsibility. But when I stand up right now, since we're talking about it, Your Worship, I had a number of phone calls last night. Obviously, you must have been on Compass talking about moving an outreach center to Acadian Drive.
Long-term plan.
Well, the number of calls that I had, and I won't repeat some of the stuff they said, but one, they want to know, do you know there's an elementary school on Acadian Drive?
Yes, I do. It's called
Okay,
Francois
so-
Biot.
So depending where you wanted to put this in the mental health campus, on the left-hand side, you'd be right beside the French school.
Right,
If you wanted to put it in the center, you're right across from a seniors complex and Martha House.
correct,
If you want to put it on the right-hand side, you're next to palliative care.
correct.
So,
And QEH.
so they're wondering what it is that you're thinking. And
Well,
you've got a number of people upset. There's
Again-
256 units, 112 units across the street.
Yeah.
You've got your Martha House, you've got your seniors residence, and now you got people down at palliative care.
right. So you're.
Just letting you know, I never
Yeah,
had
no.
a heads up on it.
No,
This is an announcement that you made in the public.
no, I said the
Well, anyway,
long-term plan, the long-term
I had
plan.
to I had to take the brunt of it.
Yeah,
So just letting you know, they're not happy.
yeah, yeah.
So if the recommendation comes from the mayor, they want to know, why does the mayor want to go down and meet with the minister that's responsible to make recommendations to move it somewhere else? When
No,
the
that would be-
minister has said, I own the property, we do the zoning, city is done.
There were several points that were going to be covered. Policing, get more funding for policing in the Park Street area. Secondly, to create more public engagement, to mitigate the confusion. Thirdly, was to look at a long-term plan. That's what we need. And the long-term plan is based on decentralization that was recommended by Carleen Donnelly.
It's not our issue anymore.
I
very
know it's
clear
not our
our
issue.
anymore.
I know it's
So
not our
I-
issue.
I think that's the question, why is the mayor out there trying
I-
to
Again, we'll look at the long-term plan. That's what they keep coming
We're
after
not
us.
looking at a long-term plan, the government is.
Yeah, well, I just added my
For
2
you to
bits.
be making recommendations, I had no idea
Yeah.
that these recommendations were being made on your behalf. I never had a heads up on it.
Mhm.
I don't know who you met with or who you didn't meet with, but regardless, those calls come in last night and they weren't happy.
Yeah, so I did not meet with Minister Myers.
I think it was obvious what he said on TV
Yeah.
last night. There was
No, we did
meeting.
not meet.
So.
Councilman Tart.
Thank you. I do need to take this opportunity to respond. I do think it is still our problem, Councillor Bernard. You know, one of the things that are not being adequately addressed out here is the community concerns. And part of the intent to meet with the minister was to proactively discuss the concerns from the community going forward. You know, as of right now, the decision was made, they're staying, and that's it. That's all we've heard. We're still dealing with issues there on a daily basis. We don't know how they're being addressed. We're continuing status quo, working with our city police services, but we don't know if that's sustainable. We don't know if they're going to add additional policing. We haven't dealt with any of the issues around the community safety in and around the park area. We don't know if they're continuing to use any of the terms and conditions that were part of the previous things. So we don't have answers to that. That was the spirit and intent of meeting with the minister, to sit down and talk about those things. And of course, talking about what the long-term plan is for decentralization. That is always something that continues to be keep brought up. So decentralization could mean putting those services across the city in various areas and offering different services in different areas. So I think that is still the gap that we have. And that was the spirit and intent of wanting to meet with the minister on that. So if we're not going to get that opportunity to meet with the minister to have those discussions, then we're going to have to look at how we're going to address these, because those things are falling onto me as the ward councillor. I'm getting the request of, what are we doing? It started, the weather's getting nice. There's tents that are popping up now everywhere. There's going to be problems down there, and we need to have those addressed. And that was the point of that. So, you know, it's really unfortunate, and I'll have to look at what our options are here now that, as we move forward. But just want to be clear on that's what one of the intentions of those meetings.
Have you requested a meeting with the minister yourself? Just
I haven't myself.
No.
I was trying to follow through this
Okay.
committee to go through the city here to get the meeting with the officials that need to be there. But if that's clearly not going to happen, then I guess I'm going to have to reach out to the minister myself and have a conversation with him.
Okay, we can move now on to, I know, we're moving on to you.
No, I would like to follow up.
And then you can go with protective and emergency services report.
Yeah, I just have a suggestion. There seems to be a lot of still silo stuff, conversations happening and whatever. It would make sense if this came through your committee as strategic priorities, but before that, this impacts many departments across our city, whether it's public works, whether it's police, whether it's Parks and Rec. I think we need to come together and hear from our departments to, again, hear how they're being impacted, come up with a plan as a unit, and then vet that through your department. I mean, there's no reason going to have meetings, your worship, if we don't know what we're really meeting about. You know, I
But
think
this
it's
was suggested from the ward councillor. That's, I think that's.
But I think it can't just be a ward issue, it's a
Well-
city issue. We have to look at this on a bigger picture, and we have to look at it from all the departments, but we haven't had the opportunity to come together to talk about how it's impacting us. So until we do that, I would suggest halting meetings until we, as the 10 people plus mayor, get together and decide what we would like to see as we progress through these meetings.
Okay. Yes. Protective and emergency services, no resolutions, no reports, but Go
Nope,
ahead.
we met on the 15th of April. I do need to address the jet concern that was brought up here in council tonight. Again, I think the confusion comes when mayor signs a letter with staff. It gives the idea that it is a political implication in some way. As the chair for the Protective and Emergency Services, I have not had any discussion. This has never been vetted through our committee. So it really, in my opinion, is operational in that nature. I did reach out to the chief, who is going to provide some information for us as a council and on their perspective. I think sometimes things get twisted a little bit on a one-sided. But again, once those letters are signed and that political stamp is there, it gives the impression that we've been briefed on something that we really can't speak to until Chief McConnell provides us with that information. Any questions other than that? I'll do my best to answer.
Councillor Bernard.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. I do think that anytime there's a request from the province, and again, I'm going back to what you and I briefly talked about with the teams, with the RCMP and Kensington and Summerside to join the Jets. I think anytime there's a request comes from the province, I don't believe it's staff that makes the decision on it. That's why we were elected to make decisions. And I think at the very least it goes to your committee to be discussed. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it or against it because I don't know enough about it. I picked it up on the news last night. So, and I was a little surprised because it sounded, on the face of it, I think most constituents would look at that and say, well, why wouldn't the city of Charlottetown want to jump in on this team to reduce drugs and so on in the city of Charlottetown and on the island? So there may be good reasons, I don't know, and obviously my conversation with you don't know either because it hasn't come to your committee. So I think something like that, especially if a letter goes from the mayor's office down to the province, that's usually the mayor speaking on behalf of council.
No, this was
And
not. but
in
that's
this
the
case
impression.
here,
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think you're taking it back to your committee. We'll get some answers on that, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, I am going to do that. And I think I know that there's been discussion that they feel, and Sean, you might want to churn them a little bit more for clarification, is that they have a really strong, solid team here who work really hard within our city confines to make sure that we're taking care of our streets and the residents here. And to, as you saw on the finance, we're waiting to fill 12 officer positions. So if we start sending the officers we have on our streets out to provincial mandated areas to do the same work that they're doing a really good job here within the city, it's going to leave them short at that point. But maybe there's something more I'm missing on that. And we will wait for more information.
Go ahead there.
Your Worship and Councillor McCabe, I can't speak on behalf of the Provincial Joint Enforcement Team. That's above my pay grade, but I can speak on behalf of our street crime unit. We're at 5 members now with a sergeant, and we're having unprecedented success with seizures of fentanyl, firearms. We executed a search warrant today on behalf of fentanyl. We're incorporating our tactical response unit for safety of the officers in the community. It's going very well. That's what I can report from a day-to-day perspective operationally.
Okay. Deputy?
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to, I agree with Councillor Bernard, high-level requests like that come from other levels of government. That's why we have the Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee to vet those through, and I certainly respect that the Office of the Mayor has a role as well, and his role is to, to have priorities and speak on those things. But things like that, I would really think it's important that council's given the heads up on anything that we know is going to end up being questions that we're going to be asked by our residents, and to sit and just listen to it on a news program, whether it's factual or not, we should know in advance. Yeah. I think it's really important. Yeah.
Well, the letter we received was on the 29th of January. It was from Blois Thompson, and Sue and the chief and myself looked at it. The chief responded, and I think he released minister released some of the contents of the letter, but the province, as the chief says, the province must assist in stabilizing Charlottetown's police services before broadening their mandate. Without proper investment, our police services and other critical city operations will continue to shoulder the growing burden of population increases, an influx of transient individuals, and escalating social challenges. I think the chief did a great job covering all these areas. again, we didn't think that it would go to the floor of the House like other items or other issues. It did. Again, I didn't see it as something that was, the chief is very dear, he's very, this is very dear to his heart, and he's very concerned about that we have to get a fair deal in this joint enforcement task force. And Deputy Chief Coombs, I appreciate for you not addressing it, but the chief will address it at a meeting, whether it's with council or the Standing Committee for Protective Emergency Services. Councillor Tweel and then Councillor Bernard.
Mr. Mayor, it's great for you to read out contents of that letter. Well, we should have had that letter from day one, right? Let's call a spade. So we should have had the letter. Council, I think, would be much more engaged, informed. This was one particular opportunity that the city said no to, not council. You signed the letter. Yeah, I know, but you're the mayor. You signed the letter as the mayor, right? You signed the letter. Usually what happens is the mayor signs a letter when a resolution is passed by council. That's how it works from all intents and purposes. So there might be other funding programs that could be allotted to the police department. We're not aware of. There's different funding programs with the feds. There's different funding programs with the province. We need to become informed, ask those questions, ask those relevant questions, and give us give our insight as to what's taking place in our respective wards, because there's many challenges. Drugs is huge. Make no mistake about it. I agree with the deputy chief. Yes, there's been some great work done, but I got to tell you, there's a lot more needs to be done as well, because it's just like a candy store. It doesn't stop, and we have to understand what the feds are doing, what the province is doing. Are we in sync? Are we out of sync? I mean, those are discussions we need to have, because people ask us the questions, especially when they're seeing it on the 6 o'clock news on Compass. Right there, it is 6 o'clock, and everybody's asking questions. What's going on? Well, I can't answer. What do you mean you can't answer? So it's not just police. It's the whole thing with the outreach center. I mean, again, discussions are taking place. I mean, the premier come out and made statements with respect to discussions that have taken place with representatives from the city of Charlottetown. So, we've got to be involved, and that's why, Councillor Matar, that's why I was asking those questions, just so that we can become better informed, so we can ask the important questions, so we can be involved in the decision-making process. I don't think that's too much to ask. I really don't. And I know what Councillor Bernard's saying. I mean, sure, he would be feeling those questions about any type of movement out to that particular area of the city. I've been being asked questions for the last 3 or 4 years. Is the city supporting the outreach center in Eustis Street? Not to my knowledge, only to find out later, yeah, big support for it. Big support. Going against the councillor and going against the community. So, it's...
Thank you. Okay.
That's not being open and transparent, I can guarantee you that.
Thank you.
But we're not involved.
Yeah.
We're not involved, and we don't know what's happening in terms of developments that are taking place in our respective wards and decisions that are being made. And then the first thing you hear is, oh, no, the city's on sides.
Yeah. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
News to me.
Yeah. Thank you. Councillor
I'm not
Bernard.
going to be a sec.
No.
I didn't want to give the impression, I mean, we have a great chief, and we have a great.
Oh, we do.
staff. There's
We
no
do. We have a
question. I
great police
understand
department too that
The whole-
are doing
the whole
very
idea-
hard work.
Yeah, so there's no question there. The thing is for council is that when something like that, when that's a request comes here, it's our role to say yes or no, and we don't know anything about it, and it hits the media, and we get questions, and we don't even know anything about it.
Look.
So it had nothing to do with the reasons why. There may be very good reasons why, and I think we're hearing some of them,
Yeah.
but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the process and that we need to be.
The letter was sent in good faith with the participation of the chief. Did we think that it would be coming up on the floor of the House, just like other comments about councillors going out for coffee? Do you think that's coming up?
But you
Nope.
think that would go through the police committee? That's my
Then you know
point.
what?
You think it
The
would come from the police,
chief
and then it would be in
the chief did not say that. We discussed it, and the letter was to the office of the mayor. But again, to have it come up in the House just tells you where we are with our provincial government.
But there's no office of the mayor, it's office of the mayor and council.
It is.
Right.
But the
So it's mayor and
chief
council.
represents the chief of police and the police services of this city. And he responded by saying that we have to respond right away.
And you respond to council, whenever council
And
makes a
that's
decision,
right.
you respond to it.
And you will get, we'll get
This
the
is not a
opportunity
decision
when
that
the
the
chief
council
comes
can
in to speak to it,
Anyway.
because he was gone for 2 weeks over to Europe to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Okay.
Your
Good
worship, can
discussion.
I just make one more comment on the file?
Yes.
Please? Before we
Join
move
in.
on. I think for the public record, it's important to understand that when the letter came in, although it was from an elected member of provincial government going to an elected member, our elected member here, both the chief and I very much saw it as an operational ask. And so our response was framed with that in mind. So I recognize now, to the deputy mayor's point, that even if we felt it was an operational matter and we needed to make our decisions from that level, that served the interest of our own residents and their needs, and what our own police department is doing and all the amazing work it's doing with regards to this very issue. That, as you agree, is not what's in question, but the path forward in responding to the province was done purely from an operational level, but because of the fact that it was coming from an elected member, we had the letter go back from our elected member. But it was all the police chief and myself looking through the letter, writing the letter, and responding. And to the mayor's point, and in fairness to him, we never saw this as a political issue, but by someone sitting in the legislature deciding to make it a political issue is what we're actually talking about here. But we saw it as an operational matter that we were properly representing.
And you know what, Sue, as CAO, I appreciate this discussion, because this is the kind of frustration that we've been dealing with at a provincial municipal level. Like, you can't be, if you're going to share information, then if you don't keep it confidential, then why share information? When you bring it up in the House, why didn't he give it, as the chief said, I had to call the chief in London while he was on vacation and ask him, how do you want to respond? He said, send me the Hansard, which I did, of May 9th. He looked it over. He said, I will deal with it when I get home. So I had to phone him when he was away, because something that we thought was between office to office was released to the House and made us look bad. But you know what? I can tell you that the city police services, Charlottetown Police Services, are doing way above beyond their pay grade in what we're dealing with: drugs in the street, crime in the street, drug addiction, mental health crisis, and misuse of alcohol. I know we'll get an opportunity when the chief gets back. Okay. Parks, recreation, leisure activities. Councillor Kevin Ramsey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Parks and Recreation met yesterday, May 12th. The draft minutes will be in your June package. There's one resolution for everybody. The Senior Engagement, sorry, I can't read this. The Senior Engagement Committee met April 10th. The draft minutes have been included in your package, and the youth engagement did not meet, so there's no draft minutes for that. Any questions? We're willing to answer, and our system manager, Christopher Drummond's here. Thank you.
Councillor Twill.
Thank you, Councillor Ramsey, for your report. Just wanted to bring to your attention, as a result of community meetings that have taken place in the east end of the city, Councillor Matart and I have been trying to address this issue collectively now for the past several months, but we need a plan for the Joe Giz Park. We need a plan. We need a consistent plan. It's not enough just to have, park security trying to deal with issues of challenging proportions. I think it's unfair. We need to have police officers that are going to be there on a consistent basis, but there needs to be a plan to make that park safe from needles and crack pipes and debris, so that young children can go there and enjoy the park, and parents will have the confidence that the park is safe. It hasn't been safe the last 2 or 3 years. Like I said, whether it was a sanctioned meeting of city council or community meetings that were held by the community, that message kept coming up time and time again. So please, I ask that the department, in consultation with all departments, whether it be public works, police, fire, whatever the case may be, but we need a plan there, and we need a plan that we can showcase the community that steps are being taken to make the Joe Gibbs Park safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Ramsey.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Creel, and we're all in agreement with it, and we are taking notes. We'll certainly have it on our agenda for our next meeting. Thank you. Very welcome, sir.
We got a resolution? Just one?
Your Worship, Parks, Recreation, Leisure Activities Resolution moved by Councillor Kevin Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Terry Bernard. Be it resolved that as per the recent request for quotes for the Central One ballfield renovations, that the low bid submission amount of $41,835 plus applicable taxes from D&D Landscaping and Excavating be accepted, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
And let the record show that Councillor Duran left because of conflict of interest. Question? Questions called? All those in favor? Yep, 9-0. Okay. Could you just ask Councillor Duran? He's been out there quite a bit. Okay. Water and wastewater utility, Councillor Bob Duran. Councillor Duran.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. I just want to say the Water and Sewer Utility Committee met 3 times this month. The regular meeting on April 14th, special meeting on April 25th, and again for a regular meeting on May 8th. And I appreciate the councilors coming in for an early morning meeting to get things done. We have 2 resolutions for your consideration tonight, and yeah, we'll hope to have an update on fiber optic at our next meeting, plus a lot of other questions. So if you have any questions on the report, feel free to ask me anything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, do you want to read the first resolution?
Resolutions, Your Worship, Water and Sewer Utility Resolution Number 1, moved by Councillor Bob Duran, seconded by Councillor John McAleer, that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the procurement of traffic control services and accepts the bid submitted by Go With The Flow Traffic Control, Inc. in the amount of $24 per hour plus applicable taxes, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Questions called? All those in favor? Councillor Duran, okay. Next one, please.
Second resolution moved by Councillor Bob Duran, seconded by Councillor John McAleer. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the Beach Grove pumping station upgrades and accepts the bid submitted by Island Coastal Services in the amount of $546,600 plus applicable taxes, and that the Mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Question? Questions called? All those in favor? You in favor there, Councillor Bernard? You in favor with the resolution? Beach Grove?
Sure, why not?
I know you read your package.
You know, this is a
Okay,
motion.
we do have notices of motions.
So, under Agenda Item 6.11, we have 2 notices of motion. Councillor Trevor McKinnon, that Public Works reevaluate the 2025 Capitol Street resurfacing list to reconsider adding Havenwood Street to that list. And as per Section 86.3 of the Municipal Government Act of PEI, this is to renew the notice of motion to amend the City of Charlottetown procedural bylaw at the next regular meeting of council.
Councillor Beck is looking with some confusion.
So I thought we were looking at doing the procedural bylaw at a special meeting. But here we're talking about putting it at the next regular meeting of council.
It has to be renewed to allow it to happen. Tracy, can you repeat that? Just use your
Sorry,
mic.
I guess I'm not understanding the process.
It's a procedural. It's a procedural issue.
Through the MGA, in order to amend the procedural bylaw at the next regular meeting or any meeting, it needs to be either, the notice needs to be brought forward or renewed each time. So if we do not renew it tonight, we're not able to amend it in June.
Good.
So we have to continue renewing it until
And
it's
that is in the
actually brought
procedural
forward.
bylaw, correct? Yes, that is in the procedural bylaw. Thank you.
And the MGA.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion to move into a closed session as per section 119 subsection 1B and E of the Municipal Government Act of Prince Edward Island. B is information received in confidence, which if disclosed would likely be prejudicial to the municipality or parties involved. E, a matter still under consideration on which the council has not yet publicly announced a decision and about which discussion in public would likely prejudice a municipality's ability to carry out its negotiations and its wellfield protection, proposed land acquisition. Again, Councillor Durant, in your budget, it's in our budget right under capital, $1 million for land acquisition. Exactly. No, he'll leave when we go into close. So I need someone to move that. Well, we'll go into the closed session, we'll decide, we'll make that. We should have notes. Moved by who? Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Beck. All in favor? Hallelujah. Okay. So I just have to go into the closed session. So we're back into an open meeting. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your concerns. I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor McCabe, second by Councillor Ramsey. All in favor? Here, here.